A sudden awakening, a flash of memory, and a shocking realization he's not where he belongs. To cut to the chase, he's been reborn as Hiro Caltarosa, the third prince of the Caltarosa kingdom. In his past life, he was just another cog in the machine, a Japanese office worker drowning in tedious duties, crowded trains, and toxic relationships. He thought being reborn as royalty would be a dream come true, but that joy was brutally short-lived. The reality. His new home is a nightmare. This country is trapped in a cycle of inescapable poverty, where the only thing more abundant than the ruins is the despair. But Hiro isn't just sitting around. He's pushing himself to the limit in a brutal sword clash, sparks flying as he goes head-to-head with a master. One perfect strike, a sudden shock, and the tide turns. With a triumphant shout, he finally does the impossible. He beats his mentor, Heath. Heath Crawford, the legendary sword instructor, can't help but laugh in genuine admiration. He's stunned that Hiro has grown this much in just 2 years, claiming the prince is now a shield the kingdom can actually rely on. Hiro's reaction? A dry, hollow laugh. He knows the truth. The kingdom of Caltarosa is so pathetic, with a population of only 1,000 people and debts piling up, that it's not even worth invading. And the punchline? With 2 unreliable older brothers, the crown might actually fall on his head. But what's the point of being king of a barren wasteland with 0 natural resources? A heavy sigh escapes him as he looks over the dead land. When Heath asks why he's so determined to help, Hiro's gaze hardens. He's going to expand their fields while there's still a chance to survive. Cloaked and determined, Hiro and Heath venture out into the desolate outskirts. They find the people of Caltarosa struggling in the dirt, fighting a losing battle against a land that refuses to give. Prince Hiro returns to the village, and the locals are absolutely thrilled to see him. They're eager to show off their hard work, but there's a catch. A stubborn tree is blocking their progress and bringing their digging to a grinding halt. The obstacle is a behemoth of a tree that 10 men couldn't even scratch with their axes. While the villagers laugh at the idea of a child handling it, Prince Hiro isn't joking. For the sake of the people, this ancient giant has to go. Here's the secret. This world has magical powers reserved for specific bloodlines. By channeling this energy into his own body, Hiro can push his physical limits far beyond the ordinary, turning his sword into a weapon of pure power. One swing, that's all it takes. With a blinding flash and a devastating strike, Hiro unleashes a blow that tears through the air and the ancient wood alike. Total silence, then absolute chaos as the villagers realize the impossible just happened. The giant tree is down in a single hit. To celebrate, they pile him high with steamed potatoes, their spirits higher than ever. As he enjoys the meal, Hiro's mind drifts to the grim reality of last winter, where starvation claimed too many lives. These foreign potato seeds are a lifeline for the country's poor soil, and he's determined to expand the fields so no one ever goes hungry again. Back at the palace, the exhaustion finally hits. Between morning sparring, afternoon governance studies, and field work, Hiro is pushing himself to the limit, but he knows the prosperity they've gained came with a devastating cost. Suddenly, a whirlwind of elegance crashes into his day. A girl dashes toward him with a bright smile, catching Hiro completely off guard. It's Mary Caltarosa, the first princess of the Caltarosa kingdom and Hiro's big sis. She's managed to sneak away from her companion's expedition just to see him, leaving Hiro stunned by her sudden appearance. But behind Mary's smile lies a heartbreaking truth. She was a human sacrifice. Her marriage to a wealthy prince was a political trade to save Hiro's people from starvation. She was his first love, and the memory of being unable to save her still burns in Hiro's heart. A woman smiles warmly, but the truth is devastating. After marriage, the prince became infamous for his lecherous ways, leaving her skinny and bruised. The young boy Hiro can only whisper her name, Mary. As his cold fury builds within him, he clenches his fist, his heart burning with a silent, desperate rage. A dinner invitation brings a brief moment of normalcy, but the meal on the table is a grim reminder of their poverty. Boiled salt potatoes, veggie scrap soup, and dried meat. It's a meager spread, yet for them, it's actually an improvement. As they eat, the weight of their struggle hangs heavy in the air. Hiro tries to brighten the mood, boasting about how he's already cultivating land that wasn't supposed to be ready for another year. He did it all for Mary, wanting to ensure there was a place for the potatoes she sent. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Mary pulls him into a crushing hug, calling him a good boy. Hiro tries to maintain his dignity, insisting he's no longer a child, but Mary isn't having it. With a tender smile, she reminds him that he still is a child, and that's exactly why he shouldn't push himself to the breaking point. Hiro puts on a brave face, but inside he's spiraling. He knows his sword lessons and magic are helpful, but compared to the scale of the country's ruin, his efforts feel like nothing. He's a former office worker trying to save a nation, and right now it feels like he's just bashing his head against a wall. Mary sees right through him, gently teasing him for trying to carry the world on his shoulders. She promises that, as his big sis, she'll find a way, but Hiro's plea is desperate. If he can make the country wealthy, will she come back? Her answer is a heartbreaking, I can't. With a final loving embrace, Mary whispers that she loves her precious hero before departing after dinner. He watches from the window as her carriage rolls away, the distance between them growing with every turn of the wheel. The silence is shattered by a violent slam as Hero's frustration boils over. He realizes the cruel irony. The supplies Mary delivered are the very things they are trading her life for. His fist tightens, the anger now focused and sharp. He's reached his limit. Studying and swordplay aren't enough to change this nightmare. He needs something more, something different. A dark determination settles in his eyes as he admits the one thing he truly craves: power. Suddenly, a violent throb shakes him, and he leaps back in shock as a blinding light erupts. A mysterious voice booms, "I shall answer," sending a searing heat through his chest. As his heart burns with an unknown force, Hero can only wonder, what on earth is happening to him? The heavy silence of the room is suddenly shattered. On high alert and gripping his sword, the boy snaps his head toward the noise, demanding to know who is there. A blinding light erupts, and a mysterious voice echoes from within him. It calls itself the Informer, claiming it has always watched over him and has finally responded to his intense desire. This is no ordinary power. In a world of magic, he has awakened an extremely rare and unique ability, an aggregate of knowledge that can answer any question its master asks. The rules are simple but strict. The Informer can provide any data on anything within the caster's vision. However, it drains massive amounts of mana and can only be used once every 30 days. With only one shot a month, he can't afford to waste it. He closes his eyes and makes his move, asking for the most efficient fertilizer recipe he can actually produce himself. The answer is instantaneous and terrifyingly precise, listing every chemical component needed. He's floored when the Informer goes a step further, showing him exactly which shops to visit to get the materials. But this level of detail comes at a cost, draining his mana to the absolute limit. As the light fades, the Informer drops a hint. If he wants these results quickly, he needs to learn alchemy. Alchemy? The boy practically leaps out of his skin. The Informer explains it could speed up production 200-fold, but there's a catch. The church has banned the practice for centuries, making it a dangerous taboo. He looks at the barren earth and the grieving faces in the cemetery, then envisions a world of abundance and joy. If he can combine the Informer's recipes with alchemy, he could save his entire nation, maybe even the world. The risk is astronomical, but his resolve is absolute. He doesn't care about the church's laws or ancient prohibitions. He's not scared of a little taboo if it's the key to everything. Executing mental transcription of coordinates, roughly 24 kilometers southeast, the boy makes a shocking discovery. The legacy of the legendary alchemist, Chronal Kaisar, is hidden right here in his own country. Under the cover of a moonlit night, he sets off on a secret journey, trading the comfort of his room for the rugged wilderness in pursuit of ancient power. He doesn't just find the entrance, he blasts through the rock with a massive boom. After a few more strikes, the wall crumbles, revealing a dark, dripping cavern. As he treks through the freezing, airless tunnel, he fights the urge to use his mana for a physical buff, knowing he must preserve every drop for the unknown. Then he stops dead in his tracks. He's found something. He comes face to face with a massive man-made puzzle blocking the path. While it looks like an impossible wall to most, he just smirks. Solving things like this is his absolute strong suit. One final move and click. The ancient mechanism triggers a massive rumble, and the wall slides open to reveal a hidden room that's surprisingly warm. He steps inside and freezes, his eyes widening in pure shock. He can't even find the words to describe the sight before him. A colossal library towers over him, filled with endless knowledge, and at its center sits a silent suit of armor. Suddenly, it breaks centuries of silence. Finally, one has come to inherit my alchemy. The boy is stunned, wondering if this is truly Chronal Kaisar himself, but the entity reveals a twist. It's actually a golem implanted with the alchemist's memories, waiting for a successor for over 160 years. The sheer scale of this alchemy explains why the church called it blasphemy, but the wonder is cut by a ticking clock. The golem drops a bombshell. Its mana is fading, and it only has 5 days left to live. There's no time for hesitation. The armored master sets a brutal pace, and Hero doesn't blink. He begs for the knowledge. The deal is struck. 5 days to absorb the depths of alchemy. Hero's already calculating. He'll buff his recovery with mana and skip sleep entirely just to keep up. But as the master asks for his name, Hero is already thinking about how to optimize his learning. My name is Hero Caltarosa. That one name sends a shockwave through the master, who recognizes a legendary bloodline in Hero's eyes. But the mystery is shut down quickly. It's time for class to begin. The master is secretly amused by the title Master, finding it strangely familiar. Outside, the cold moonlit mountains stand as silent witnesses to the training about to unfold. 5 days of absolute intensity flash by. The massive sprawling library becomes Hero's entire world as he dives into the forbidden arts. The moment of truth arrives. When asked if he's mastered the basics, Hero doesn't just say yes. He breaks down alchemy like a piece of software, comparing the blue jewel to a compiler and mana to code. He's not just learning, he's translating. From pointers to arrays, Hiro explains how this logical sorcery can literally create matter, bodies, and even souls. It's the ultimate cheat code. Hiro's past life as a programmer makes the impossible feel intuitive. The master is floored, realizing he's finally found someone capable of carrying the torch. The atmosphere shifts as the master declares Hiro his successor. With a final prayer for the next generation, he entrusts all his amassed wisdom to the young prodigy. Silence falls over the library. With a deep bow and a heart full of resolve, Hiro makes a solemn vow to honor his master's will. The forbidden power is finally his. Hiro reflects on his progress, having mastered the basics and general concepts of alchemy, using the legendary resources of Chrono Kaiser. With a look of absolute determination, he declares that everything is about to change. He's not just learning a skill, he's seizing the power to reshape his world. He breaks down the logic. Alchemy isn't magic that creates gold from stone, but a precise technique of processing raw materials. For 2 years he studied in secret, knowing this convenient sorcery could make him rich and successful anywhere, but he refuses to abandon his home because he truly loves this country. The stakes are high. Save his nation and bring back his sister. Hiro is ready to set his 2 years of secret preparation in motion, even if he has to fight this battle entirely alone. But just as he steels himself, a familiar voice cuts through the silence, calling out to Prince Hiro. A playful, twin-tailed girl appears with a mischievous wink and a sword at her hip. She doesn't just greet him, she hits him with a nickname from the past. Or should I say, Crybaby Hiro, she teases, wondering if that particular memory still rings a bell. Shock washes over Hiro as he recognizes her. It's Hibana Krulford, his childhood friend and the granddaughter of Heath. After traveling abroad to Kinar for intense combat training, she's finally returned home. While Hiro is still processing the surprise, an acquaintance explains that her training is complete and it was time for her to come back. Hiro tries to reclaim his dignity, insisting he's no longer a crybaby, but Hibana isn't buying it. The mood shifts to awe when they learn Hibana's achievement. She joined the world-renowned Kinar Bronze Knights Brigade at just 14 years old. Even if it's the lowest of the 3 brigades, Hiro is floored that she's already a first-class swordsman. But Hiro's analytical mind kicks in, and he asks the one question that ruins the mood. Why would someone so successful come back to a place like this? As he calculates her potential to reach the Gold Brigade, Hibana's patience snaps. She glares at him, calling him a dummy and screaming that she returned to fulfill their promise. The memory floods back to a field of flowers and a royal wedding for Lady Mary. 2 children, Hiro and Hibana, are both sobbing their hearts out. Hibana tries to be the strong one, telling Hiro to smile for the bride, even as tears stream down her own face. Through the tears, young Hiro makes a vow that defines his future. He will change this country, no matter how powerless he feels right now. Seeing his resolve, young Hibana gives him the ultimate pledge. With a beaming, tearful smile, she promises to be his sword. Back in the present, Hiro is stunned that she actually remembered such a childhood pact. Hibana explodes in a flustered rage, shouting her denial, but then her expression softens. In a rare moment of honesty, she admits the truth. She had actually been unsure about whether she should return at all. Hibana opens up about her time studying abroad, admitting she once felt that saving Caltarosa was an impossible dream. She almost convinced herself to give up and stay in Kinar, but Hiro cuts through the melancholy with a pointed question, so why did she actually come back? It all started with a letter to her grandfather, desperate for an answer on whether the country could be saved, and if Hiro had finally quit. The reply was short and certain. Hiro hasn't given up. Driven by that spark of hope, she returned just to see the truth for herself. Enter Heath, the man behind the curtain. With a knowing smile, he admits he was the one who nudged Hibana back home, having already sensed that Prince Hiro was preparing to make a massive move. Heath doesn't miss a chance to tease Hiro, bringing up his childhood tears to remind him who's really in charge. But beneath the banter, Hiro feels a surge of strength. With Heath by his side and Hibana back in the fold, he's no longer fighting alone. The atmosphere shifts as Hibana drops the pleasantries. She looks Hiro straight in the eye and asks the million-dollar question. Exactly how does he plan to save a country that seems completely hopeless? The tension peaks as Hibana pours out her anxiety, questioning if Hiro even has the power to back up his claims. Hiro's answer is simple and unwavering. He loves his country and intends to keep his promise. But Hibana gives him a harsh ultimatum. If the dream is impossible, she'll be forced to walk away. Challenge accepted. With a confident smirk, Hiro decides the best way to answer her doubts isn't with words, but with a reveal. He leads them toward a secret part of the castle that's about to change everything. They step inside, and the sight is absolutely staggering. A sprawling, sophisticated workshop filled with books and equipment, a hidden sanctuary of knowledge that leaves both Heath and Hibana completely speechless. The shock turns into pure disbelief. Hibana can't wrap her head around the fact that the castle had a secret basement, let alone that Hiro built the entire facility and the connecting tunnel all by himself. Even the experienced Heath is floored, noting that the craftsmanship is far beyond anything possible in their land. Hiro finally reveals the secret. It wasn't just hard work, but sorcery that made this miracle possible. Heath is left stunned, realizing that Hiro's something was far bigger than he ever imagined. With a confident smile, Prince Hiro leads his guests to a heavy wooden door, teasing a reveal that will change everything. He spent 2 years in frantic research, and now it's time to unveil the discovery that will bring prosperity to Caltarosa. The doors swing open to a sight that defies logic, a lush, thriving field of wheat. The witnesses are absolutely floored, because in this land wheat is supposed to be impossible to grow, no matter how hard their ancestors tried. This isn't just luck, it's a masterpiece of selective breeding. Hiro explains how he's engineered a crop that's disease-resistant, fast-growing, and tastes sweet, a total game-changer for the nation's food supply. But there's a dark secret beneath the gold. Hiro parts the stalks to reveal a rotting monster's corpse, shocking the group since these creatures are the bane of the country, usually polluting the land with deadly miasma. Here's the genius part. Hiro created a special seed that feeds on the monster, nullifying the miasma as it grows. Once the seed consumes the entire body, it wilts and transforms the corpse into a high-energy, fantastic fertilizer. The realization hits. Caltarosa won't just survive, it could become a major food exporter. The girl is absolutely starstruck, unable to believe the sheer scale of what's now possible. Looking at Habana, Hiro reflects on a promise made back when he was just a powerless child. But those days are over. He now possesses the power to realize that dream and reshape the entire nation. He reaches out his hand, and Habana takes it with a beaming, determined smile. She's all in, declaring that she wants a front-row seat for the journey ahead. I am your sword. With that oath, their bond is sealed amidst the waving wheat. Meanwhile, the mustachioed observer can only watch in stunned, sweating silence. The mood shifts as the man asks for confirmation. Did the prince really do all of this? The seeds, the wheat, the secret room, entirely by himself? Hiro's answer is a simple, confident, that's correct. A heavy silence hangs over the church as a shocking realization hits. Heath can't believe his eyes. Was this all made possible by a method the church declared taboo and eradicated centuries ago? Prince Hiro just sighs, realizing he really can't hide anything from the man. No more secrets. With a calm gaze, Hiro drops the bombshell. It's alchemy. The revelation hits like a thunderbolt, leaving Habana completely floored. Panic sets in as Heath warns that the church will move to eradicate them if word gets out. But Hiro isn't backing down. He's already made up his mind. Forbidden power or not, he'll do whatever it takes to save his nation. The resolve in Hiro's eyes is terrifyingly absolute. Internally, he doesn't give a damn about the church. He only cares about protecting the people he loves. Seeing that gaze, Heath realizes Hiro is fully aware of the consequences, and he's diving in anyway. Instead of fear, Heath erupts in a booming laugh, matching Hiro's resolve with his own. He's practically beaming with pride, praising the prince for growing into a fine man. But the moment turns chaotic when a jealous Habana lunges in, demanding to know why Heath gets to touch Hiro so much. Then, the mood shifts to something far more intimate. Habana leans in close, her voice a soft promise. Knowing about the alchemy hasn't changed her feelings one bit. In fact, she vows that if anyone comes for him, she'll be the one to cut them down. With his team united, Hiro feels the weight of their support. But Habana is already thinking ahead. She wants to be his knight right now. Heath quickly shuts her down, lecturing her on the strict, annoying formalities of royal investiture that can't be skipped. Hiro agrees that the formal title is necessary for recognition, but for now Habana is his secret accomplice. Not satisfied with a standard weapon, she asks if he can use his alchemy to forge something truly insane. Hiro just smirks. He's planning to make her a blade that puts even the legendary holy blades to shame. The Golden Knight's holy blades are the pinnacle of power, reserved for only 12 elite warriors. But Hiro has a bolder plan. He'll use Habana's current sword as a base to create something superior. If he can't even manage that, how can he possibly bring prosperity to his country? Examining the blade, Hiro is genuinely impressed by the craftsmanship, even if he feels a bit guilty about using magic to cut corners. As he asks Habana for her requests, his mind is already racing with technical upgrades. Lightweight, shorter, and perfectly balanced for maximum speed. This isn't just a sword, it's about to become a masterpiece. With more requests than he can handle, Hiro decides it's time to get to work. He activates a mysterious bracelet, and suddenly, the air begins to vibrate with power. He looks determined. Something big is about to happen. The alchemy kicks in with a violent whirl of energy. Metal screams and shifts, twisting into a lethal form through a series of rapid mechanical snaps. Then, a blinding flash of light reveals the finished product. The result is absolutely staggering. The witnesses are floored to discover the blades are made of mithril, a legendary metal almost never seen in the real world. Hiro looks at his creation with a smile, realizing the true potential of alchemy. It's time for a field test. The girl charges forward with a fierce cry, lunging toward a massive, imposing iron statue that stands in her way. One clean, effortless slash. The blade tears through the iron as if it were paper, slicing the heavy statue completely in half. The girl stands in shock, staring at the wreckage. She can't believe there was absolutely no resistance. She just tore through solid iron like it was nothing. Hiro is impressed, noting that she achieved this without using any mana for strength buffs. With a playful wink, she reveals her secret. She wanted him to see her raw, natural strength. Then comes the request. With sparkling eyes, she begs Hiro to let her keep the mithril sword, but he shuts her down with a cold not a chance. She's devastated, but Hiro reminds her she was just borrowing it for the test. But he's not leaving her empty-handed. With a confident smirk, Hiro makes a bold promise. He'll forge her a sword even better than the one he just threw together, using some very special materials. Pure bliss. The girl is absolutely thrilled, her excitement reaching a fever pitch as Hiro takes charge of the project. The broken statue is forgotten as a new legendary weapon is promised. One smile was all it took to ignite a fire in Hiro's heart. He's not letting her down. It's time to craft the ultimate sword for Hibana. But forget about mithril or standard metals. Hiro is playing by a different set of rules. He's using monster fangs and claws, materials that naturally crave mana and possess a strength that defies conventional smithing. There's a catch though. Monster parts are laced with a deadly miasma that eats away at the wielder. Luckily, Hiro uses a specialized alchemy crystal to strip the poison away, leaving only the raw power behind. Next comes the brutal part. Using an alchemized hammer, he pulverizes the remains of an edge bear, a hound dog, and a saber eagle, dissolving them into a single, synergistic substance that no ordinary furnace could ever produce. With the secret knowledge of Informer guiding his every move, Hiro shapes the liquid mana into a blade. The result is a weapon of breathtaking beauty, though its elegance hides a terrifying capacity for killing. The final touches are where the real magic happens. Hiro meticulously engraves the runes of Sever into the steel and applies a powerful enchantment to push the blade's performance to the limit. This is where alchemy truly shines. By pairing the enchantment with a divine blessing called Slice, Hiro ensures that every swing of this sword is devastatingly efficient. He steps back to admire his masterpiece, a small, satisfied smile on his face. He's certain that Hibana will be more than happy with this gift. The scene shifts to a grand royal ceremony where the atmosphere is thick with prestige. Amidst the cheering crowd, Hibana Krulford kneels as she is officially dubbed a knight. As the crowd erupts in applause, Hibana holds the magnificent blade high, her eyes filled with devotion. With a solemn vow, she declares that her sword belongs solely to Prince Hiro. Hibana whispers her gratitude to Hiro, calling the sword he made the greatest and most beautiful she's ever seen. But despite the applause filling the hall, she's visibly shaken by nerves, fearing she isn't worthy of such a weapon. Hiro just laughs it off, completely confident that everyone will recognize her strength. While he puts on a brave face, Hiro secretly worries that his own status as a half-assed third prince makes the whole ceremony feel trivial. He finds comfort in Hibana's prestigious lineage and training, but he quickly notices a darker undercurrent. The nobles in the room aren't just impressed, they're eyeing Hibana as a prize to be claimed. Hiro isn't about to let anyone steal his partner. To him, Hibana is more than just a powerful battle asset. She's a friend and a partner bound by a promise. With the ceremony winding down, he feels he can finally start his real plan, but a lingering doubt still crosses his mind. The mood shifts instantly as two imposing figures loom over Hiro like shadows of impending doom. He knows these two are the real obstacles standing in his way, and if he wants to survive, he needs a plan to neutralize them before they strike. The tension breaks as Hibana beams with joy, thanking Hiro for making her his knight. But then the mood flips to something suspiciously awkward as she blushes and offers him a thank you gift. Hiro's confusion peaks when he sees the object, a ridiculously fluffy sheep plushie. It turns out the cute plushie is actually a vessel for Informer. Hibana's logic is simple. Talking to yourself is sad, so he might as well have a cute sheep to talk to. Hiro is left speechless, wondering if he's being genuinely helped or just teased, while the plushie introduces itself with a deadpan greeting. Now the office has become a makeshift gym as Hibana relentlessly swings a heavy log. Hiro is completely exhausted, just watching her, questioning why she can't train elsewhere. But Hibana is dead serious. She promised to be his sword, and she refuses to let that promise become a lie. Hibana's ambition is terrifying. She's obsessed with surpassing the 8 strongest swordsmen she knows. Hiro realizes that her confidence puts her on a level to challenge the elite Golden Knights of Kanar. He sighs at how handful she is, but deep down he knows having a bronze knight as an ally is a priceless advantage. Hibana is absolutely loving her new weapon, claiming its strength feels almost unfair. Hiro explains that the sword is designed to shatter almost any ordinary blade, and he expects her to master it quickly. Then, with a mysterious smirk, he drops a bombshell. They're going on a trip, and it's time for some real-world practice. Just as the plan is set, a girl peeks through the door, questioning Hiro's sudden decision. But Hiro doesn't hesitate. He's not just taking a trip, he's sneaking his knight right out of the castle. A sudden smug voice cuts through the air, freezing everyone in their tracks. Where do you think you're going? Agata has arrived, and the tension spikes instantly. Meet Agata Caltarosa, the second prince, and a master politician. He's already seen right through Hiro's secret projects, from the pretend doctor act to the hidden wheat in the basement. He's not just visiting, he's here to see exactly what his little brother is plotting. Hiro tries to play it cool, claiming he only wants the country to prosper, but Agata isn't buying it. With a sharp, knowing smile, the second prince drops a bombshell. Does Hiro actually plan to push everyone aside and seize the throne for himself? But Hiro doesn't flinch. He looks Agata dead in the eye and shuts down the accusation, admitting that when it comes to politics, Agata is the only one truly fit to be king. Hiro lays it all out. He's no leader, and he's happy to stay in the shadow of Agata's politics and Takumu's military genius. For the first time, Agata actually acknowledges the effort Hiro and Mary have put in to keep the country afloat, leaving Hiro completely stunned. The moment of sincerity is short-lived, as Agata quickly flips back to his teasing self. He tells Hiro to stop beating around the bush and get to the point, ending the lecture with a childish "B" that proves he's just as eccentric as he is cunning. Then, the mood shifts as Agata delivers a message from Takumu. Hiro is almost 14, and the time to fulfill his royal duty of slaying monsters is coming. While Agata pretends he's just tired of cleaning up Hiro's messes, he suggests that one night isn't nearly enough for what's ahead. Hiro just smiles, confident in his own strength, even if he's not on Takumu's level yet. But Agata's attention quickly shifts to the girl standing nearby, Hibana, who is currently radiating a terrifying amount of bloodlust. In a bold move, Agata leans in and makes a tempting offer. Why not ditch Hiro and become his knight instead? He promises better working conditions, and Hiro realizes this visit was actually a recruitment drive for a high-tier bronze knight. The answer is a brutal, immediate no thanks. Hibana clings to Hiro, declaring she's already decided to be his sword, leaving Agata to laugh off the rejection as oddballs flocking together before he finally takes his leave. The blonde man drops a bombshell offer, claiming he's game for whatever the black-haired boy is planning. But the boy isn't fooled. He immediately realizes this is the real reason the man showed up. The stakes are suddenly crystal clear. If Takumu takes the throne, it's game over. The boy sees a path forward, realizing this man is the perfect tool to utilize his invention and win the succession war. He doesn't jump at the offer, playing it cool while acknowledging that an ally like this would be a massive advantage. As the man departs, a confident smirk plays on the boy's lips. He's already 3 steps ahead. Then there's the girl, and she is absolutely livid that the man had the nerve to ask her to join him so casually. The boy tries to play peacemaker, but he knows the truth. This man only stops lying when there's a deal to be made. A sudden shift in mood reveals a heavy secret. The boy's own origins are a mystery, brought home by his father under uncertain circumstances. It's no wonder his brothers look at him with such disdain. When asked if he actually wants the crown, his answer is a flat no. Why deal with the headache of ruling when he can have the freedom to master alchemy and dump the boring work on his brothers? The girl isn't convinced, trusting her intuition that he's destined for the throne regardless. Her goal is simple. When he finally does take over, she'll be the knight standing by his side. Enough talk. It's time for action. The boy decides it's time to put that legendary strength of hers to the test as they head out. They step into the Forbidden Zone, and while the girl is practically vibrating with excitement to fight monsters, the boy is reminded that they've just entered a high-level danger zone, the Magic Forest. This place is a nightmare, a nesting ground for brutal monsters that plague the kingdom of Caltarosa. The girl panics about their light clothing, but the boy just smiles. These aren't ordinary clothes, they're alchemical armor. A sudden blade strike. Hibana tests the new gear by stabbing Prince Hiro, but the enchanted monster thread armor holds strong. He's not amused that he was the guinea pig, but she's just thrilled that she didn't actually kill him. Hibana laughs off the near-death experience, leaving the prince wondering how he's going to fix her chaotic personality as her master. Yet, when she admits she wants to depend on him as a childhood friend, he can't help but feel a little happy. As they trek through the woods, the prince reveals the first goal of their journey. He's not just sightseeing, he's here to personally scout the specific types of monsters inhabiting the area. The monsters are the resources. With a smirk, he reminds her that everything from their clothes to her sword, and even the fertilizer they use, comes from monster remains. This is where alchemy changes the game, turning a barren land into a goldmine of monster materials. But the prince drops a chilling warning. The creatures deeper in the forest are on a completely different level, and he tells Hibana she's free to run if she gets scared. Run? Not a chance. Hibana's blood is pumping, and she's more than ready to put her new sword to the test. The prince just smiles, knowing he can count on her spirit. They finally arrive at the military barricade, the gateway to the unknown. As they face the wall, Hibana presses him for the second, more mysterious reason for their trip. It's something essential to save the entire country. The guards are immediately on edge, shouting that it's too dangerous to proceed. But Hibana is completely unfazed, trusting in the prince's strength. With a gaze of absolute authority, Prince Hiro commands the guards to let them through for the sake of the nation's future. Recognizing his resolve, the soldiers step aside, wishing him safety. But the moment of peace is shattered. A series of violent crashes and thumps rock the ground, leaving everyone in a state of pure shock. What on earth is happening? Returning home should be a relief, but for Hiro, it's the opposite. He knows a confrontation is inevitable, and he's dreading the moment he has to face him. The gates crash open with a deafening roar, revealing a wall of armored guards and one imposing figure standing at the center. The atmosphere shifts instantly from a simple return to a high-tension standoff. Meet Takumu Caltarosa, the first prince and the strongest warrior in the entire kingdom. One cold, piercing glare from him is enough to make anyone freeze in their tracks. The tension is suffocating as Takumu makes his presence known. While Hiro tries to keep things light by asking about monster corpses, Takumu shuts him down with a brutal reminder. This is a battlefield, and there's no room for the half-hearted. Takumu's coldness is on full display. He tells Hiro to do as he pleases, but with a chilling caveat: he won't be coming to save him if things go south. Just try not to die. Then comes the shocker. Takumu reveals he already knows about Hiro's alliance with Agata. Hiro's brain practically shuts down. How on earth did the news travel that fast? But then, Takumu drops a cryptic warning that changes everything. He tells Hiro not to step out of line, claiming the country cannot afford to become prosperous until the time is right. Hiro is left wondering, is he actually afraid of an invasion? The dark history of the land is revealed. Once a vast and powerful nation, they were conquered and stripped of everything. Now their only shield is their own insignificance. If they appear valuable, the neighboring warmongers will swoop in to seize what's left. Hiro puts the pieces together. Takumu isn't just being cruel. He's planning a high-stakes gamble to reclaim their ancestral lands and food supply. It's a desperate strategy, but in a country with no military strength, it might be their only shot. The conversation ends with a deadly ultimatum. Takumu is building strength in the shadows, and he makes it crystal clear. Sibling or not, anyone who gets in the way of the plan will be cut down. The tension is suffocating as the strongest man in the nation makes a bold claim that he alone is the key to their survival. He acknowledges the other's importance, but the air shifts when the young prince fires back, calling them both cunning and dead wrong. One look is all it takes for the mood to turn lethal. With a grip tightening on his sword, the warning is crystal clear. Don't push him too far, or it'll be the last mistake they ever make. Leaving the suffocating pressure behind, the young prince and his companion finally step past the city gates. As the guards wave them off, they head deep into the wilderness, finally free from the shadow of the fortress. Phew! The prince lets out a breath he didn't know he was holding, admitting that the threat was very real. But while he respects the power of the warning, he has no intention of letting it derail his secret plans. Behind the scenes, a clash of ideologies is brewing. While one brother wants military dominance, Agata believes the only way to survive is to become a protected vassal state. To Agata, the prince's ambitions aren't just risky, they're a direct threat to the nation's survival. It's a tragic irony. Both brothers are fighting to save their home, just from completely opposite directions. The prince realizes they all want the same thing in the end, but as he turns to Habana, he finds her unusually silent. Habana is still reeling from the display of raw power, admitting that seeing the strongest man armed for battle is a whole different level of terrifying. The prince can't help but wonder, if a fight actually broke out, would she even stand a chance? Her answer? She'd last exactly 3 minutes. The prince tries to spin it as enough time to escape, but the realization that she'd be dead in 3 minutes makes the conversation suddenly very dark. But the prince has a vision that goes beyond simple survival. He doesn't just want peace. He wants to arm the military with alchemical weapons to reclaim every inch of stolen land. He needs that raw strength to turn his inventions into a national victory. With his brothers being outstanding but a pain, the prince is ready to get back to monster hunting. But just as they dive into the thick brush, Habana reminds him of the one thing he's been avoiding. The real second reason he came here. One word, and a massive explosion of white crystals erupts behind him. With a confident smirk, the boy reveals the result of his work. Salt. The girl is absolutely floored, her jaw dropping at the revelation. The boy explains that according to the great Alchemist's map, there's an ocean hidden at the far end of the forest. The girl's mind immediately jumps to the prophet, realizing they could monopolize the sea salt market over the surrounding countries. But the boy keeps her grounded, noting that finding a safe route through this monster-infested terrain is the real challenge. Especially since regular compasses are useless here. Just when things look bleak, he reveals his secret weapon with a triumphant tada. It's a magic pin, a custom-made compass that relies on magic stones instead of magnetism. The girl is relieved, though she still can't shake the fear of the monsters lurking in the shadows. As if on cue, the monsters make their move, creeping through the brush. Instead of panic, the boy sees this as the perfect opportunity to show his guard exactly how he handles a fight. He doesn't just fight, he creates. In a blur of alchemy, he triggers gunpowder and mithril refinement, prepping a devastating attack. The exploding arrow, Crimson Lotus. With a flash of light, the transformation is complete. He now wields the Magimetal Refinement 5th form, Magic Bow. The girl can hardly believe her eyes. He just turned raw mithril and gunpowder into weapon of war on the fly. But he's not done yet. With a sharp command to analyze, he activates his ultimate trump card, a refined magic eye. By enchanting his own vision, he's unlocked the powers of clairvoyance and X-ray vision. The world transforms. Through his X-ray vision, he can see the monster's muscle flexions and center of gravity, predicting its every move before it even happens. He even tracks the invisible currents of the wind as he pulls back the string. Everything is calculated. With a powerful twing, he releases the arrow, sending a precision strike screaming toward the enemy. Out of nowhere, a monstrous fanged beast lunges forward with a terrifying roar, its eyes locked on its prey. But before it can strike, a single arrow whistles through the air and slams right into its open maw. A blinding flash erupts, followed by a massive explosion that sends the boy and his companion flying backward in a cloud of smoke. Completely stunned, the girl screams in disbelief, asking if he actually blew the monster up. The boy calmly explains that the magic imbued in his arrow reacted with gunpowder upon impact, creating a blast that no amount of monster vitality could survive. Not stopping there, the boy instantly transforms his weapon with a flash of light, Magimetal Refinement 2nd form, Magic Spear. The girl is losing it, wondering why a supposed swordsman is suddenly wielding a spear, but he simply shrugs it off. He's not just a fighter, he's an alchemist who uses whatever tool the situation demands. From a close-range sword and a defensive shield to a stealthy knife and a heavy explosive hammer, his arsenal is limitless. As a pack of screeching monkey monsters swarms them, the boy's eyes sharpen. He's ready to unleash thousands of armaments at once. It's a total massacre. With a confident grin, he launches a rain of mithril weapons that pierce through the monsters like paper. This is the true, overwhelming power of Mithril's Magimetal Refinement. The girl is practically throwing a tantrum, shouting that being able to shapeshift weapons is straight-up cheating. He just laughs it off, as is nature, giving her a playful pat on the head. Though she admits his versatility is insane, she notes that nothing beats his skill with a sword, a point he secretly agrees with. The peace is short-lived as a colossal armored bear monster crashes through the trees, towering over the girl with a deafening roar. But instead of flinching, she draws her blade with a cold, determined look. It's her turn to show what she thinks of this beast. In one fluid explosive motion, she vanishes and reappears in a blur of steel. A massive slash rips through the air, severing the monster's giant paw in a single devastating strike. The beast staggers back, bleeding and broken, completely overwhelmed by her speed. As she lands, she casts a lethal, piercing glare at the monster. The hunt is officially over. One clean, devastating strike, and it's over. With a single flash of her blade, the girl slices right through the massive beast, leaving nothing but a falling carcass in her wake. As she calmly sheathes her sword, the prince is left completely breathless. He's absolutely mesmerized by her speed and precision, admitting that her swordsmanship is just super cool. While the girl harvests the monster's claws, the prince's mind shifts to the bigger picture. He worries that as Kaltarosa grows prosperous through his technology, neighboring countries like Kinar might try to steal it, meaning his nation must become just as strong as it is wealthy. He's dreaming of a country strong enough to defeat anyone, a goal that earns him a smile and a compliment from his companion. But first, she's more interested in the loot, asking if she can keep those super sharp claws. It's not as simple as just picking them up, though. To avoid collapsing from the miasma or wasting precious mana, the prince provides a special miasma-resistant bag to secure the trophies. As they head out, the prince reveals a terrifying fact. They just took down a blade bear, a dangerous A-rank monster known for causing massive casualties. While he's cautious, the girl is already hoping for an even stronger fight next time. The girl playfully calls him a reliable knight, leaving the prince feeling a surge of confidence. With Habana by his side, he's certain he'll survive long enough to make his dreams a reality. Suddenly, the forest opens up to a breathtaking reveal. The girl shouts in excitement as they finally reach the edge of the world, the vast sparkling ocean. The scent of salt and the roar of the waves hit them all at once. Overwhelmed with joy, she throws her arms wide, celebrating the fact that they actually made it. But for the prince, this is more than just a beautiful view. Finding the ocean means finding salt, the ultimate resource that will finally stop neighboring countries from exploiting his people for money. A half-day trek finally pays off as they reach the ocean. Hiro asks Habana how much more she can carry, and she reveals she's already lugging 50 kilograms of monster parts. But Hiro isn't thinking small. He plans to bring back a staggering 100 kilograms of salt. Habana is floored by the ambition, but Hiro is determined to make this trip a massive win. Hiro's brain is already running the numbers, calculating that just 15 trips could supply his entire country with salt for a year. He knows they need to push themselves now to save time later, and there's something else on his mind that makes this mission urgent. While Habana offers to help, Hiro tells her to wait. It's time to get to work. Suddenly, the mood shifts from business to chaos. Habana strips down to a bikini and dives into the surf, leaving Hiro completely stunned by her total lack of embarrassment. Before he can even process it, she's already splashing back with a fish in hand. He's amazed at her speed, though he realizes the local wildlife makes it easy. While Habana enjoys the refreshing water and tries to tempt him in, Hiro stays focused on the grind. He tells her he'll join her once he's finished, then turns his attention to the sand. With a surge of power, he prepares to transform the landscape. Then comes the real alchemy. Hiro refines the beach sand into a massive shimmering glass pool in an instant. But he doesn't stop there. He summons a colossal wall of seawater, crashing it directly into his creation with a deafening roar. Habana is absolutely speechless, staring at the artificial pool that would normally take days to build. As she wonders how he's pouring the water in, Hiro just gives a knowing look. He's just getting started, and he's got plenty more surprises up his sleeve. Things get a bit weird when Hiro refines monster intestines into a makeshift hose to siphon the water. Habana finds the idea disturbing, but Hiro is all about that science, explaining the siphon phenomenon to a bewildered girl. With no time for natural evaporation, he unleashes his mana to refine the seawater into salt instantly. The result is instant magic. The pool transforms into a glittering bed of salt. Habana is in awe, but she's confused why Hiro keeps adding more seawater. He explains the science of salinity, recalling his old school lessons to maximize their harvest. But this level of efficiency comes at a price. Hiro has to repeat the process over and over, and the mana drain is starting to take a heavy toll. He's exhausted, wiping sweat from his brow as he pushes through the fatigue for the sake of his country. Seeing his struggle, Habana steps in with a tender moment, gently wiping his forehead and offering him water. She urges him to take a break and mentions the fish is ready, but Hiro's determination is unshakable. He's exhausted, but he's not stopping until the job is done. The salt harvest is in full swing. Hiro realizes they need to bag the salt now or waste efficiency. Habana steps up with a special alchemy bag that stretches far beyond its size, and she starts scraping the salt with a speed that looks like total cheating. The boy is left stunned, wondering just how much mana she's packing to make this look so easy. Hiro reveals a hard truth about their world. Mana is decided at birth. He considers it a miracle that he possesses both a massive mana pool and the Informer ability, which relies on that power. But when Habana asks why he doesn't just use magic to gather the salt instantly, he shuts it down. They need to save every drop of mana for the treacherous journey back through the forest. Habana doesn't just help. She dominates, hauling massive bags of salt with a grin, claiming it's all just training. As they prepare to leave, she drops a bombshell, a rumor she heard about a certain prince who spends his time doing peasant farm work under the guise of training. The irony hits hard as Hiro realizes the rumor is about him. While he finds the idea of such a fellow odd, Habana turns to him with a knowing smile. She calls the idea of helping people while training a win-win, leaving Prince Hiro completely flustered that his secret habits have become public knowledge. Hiro tries to deflect by calling Habana a heroine, but she humbly brushes it off. Looking out at the ocean, Hiro admits a vulnerable truth. He knew the salt was here, but he could never have breached the magic forest alone. He recalls the days of staring at maps in the library, defeated until Habana entered his life and made the impossible possible. A simple thank you from Hiro is all it takes to break her composure. Habana's tough exterior melts instantly, her face flushing a deep red. She admits he's making her blush, but for once, she doesn't mind the feeling. With a firm handshake and a shared vow, the bond between prince and knight is sealed. They're not just bringing back salt and fish, they're bringing back hope to save their country. But as they turn toward home, the oppressive shadow of the dark forest looms ahead, waiting for them. As they trek through the night, Habana is completely drained, but Hiro is as fresh as a daisy. While she struggles to see in the dark, he spots the lights of the barricades with ease. The secret? His magic eye, a tool that makes navigating the midnight woods a breeze. But the magic eye isn't the only trick up his sleeve. Hiro reveals a mysterious perfume, the real reason their trip back has been suspiciously quiet. Monsters absolutely loathe the scent, turning a deadly trek into a peaceful stroll. Habana is floored, wondering just how many handy tools this prince is hiding. It wasn't just about the salt, though. Hiro explains that he used the perfume to protect them, but also to study the forest's inhabitants. By identifying which monsters are immune to the scent, he's gathered vital intel. His ultimate goal? To create a way for regular soldiers to traverse the forest safely, turning a death trap into a pathway for his nation's prosperity. The praise is pouring in. Someone lists off Hiro's incredible achievements, from finding the ocean to creating perfume, but Hiro just brushes it off with a casual nah, hinting that the real surprises are yet to come. Suddenly the mood shifts as a girl and her guards burst in, shouting for Prince Hiro with a mix of relief and worry. The urgency is real. The girl doesn't waste a second, insisting on sending an immediate message to the castle. She knows her brothers Takumu and Agata won't wait until morning if the news is big enough. And the news is massive. Hiro found salt. Cut to the castle, where the atmosphere is thick with tension. Under the flicker of torchlight, two imposing figures stand guarded in a grand hall. On the table between them lie two simple bags, but in this kingdom those bags are more valuable than gold. The silence is shattered by the sound of approaching footsteps. With a confident stride, Hero and his companion enter the room. He breaks the tension with a simple, almost playful greeting. "Sorry to keep you waiting, brothers." The brothers aren't exactly thrilled about the delay, but the moment they touch the salt, the air changes. As one brother wonders if this discovery is linked to other mysteries, Hero watches them, realizing that three completely different visions for the country's future have just collided in one room. Meet the powerhouses. First, there's Takumu Kaltarasa, the strongest man in the land, who believes only military might can reclaim their stolen prosperity. Then there's Agata Kaltarasa, the calculating strategist who thinks the only way to survive is through calculated diplomacy and submission to a stronger power. And then there's Hero. As the third prince, he's always been the reserve, the one overlooked by his overachieving brothers. But that invisibility was his greatest weapon, giving him the freedom to find the salt. Now he's done playing the background character. He's officially entering the ring. No time for pleasantries. Takumu wastes no time, his gaze piercing as he demands the one answer that matters. "How'd you get the salt?" The pressure in the room spikes instantly, leaving Hero momentarily breathless. Hero drops a bombshell that leaves them speechless. He reveals there's an entire ocean hidden beyond the magic forest, where he built a salt pan to harvest the treasure. The brothers are stunned. For them, salt isn't just a resource. It's a matter of life and death. The weight of the revelation hits hard. For years, this nation has been bled dry, selling its treasures and watching its people starve just to afford salt from extortionate neighbors. In a land where the lack of salt has left a trail of corpses, Hero's discovery isn't just a win, it's a miracle that honors every soul they've lost. Hero isn't playing around. He declares with absolute conviction that he's not rotten enough to lie about something as vital as salt. Takumu just watches him, a simple IC hanging in the air as he weighs the boy's words. A rare well done from Takumu catches Hero completely off guard. While he's flattered, Hero's mind is already racing. He knows praising him is a risky move for someone eyeing the throne. Seizing the moment, Hero drops a proposal. He needs Takumu's troops to ensure the salt supply doesn't vanish if he and Habana ever fall. The request is bold. Hero wants the military's help. But Takumu doesn't hesitate, agreeing instantly to send his elites and even join the expedition himself. Now the prince just has to lead the way through the deadly forest. Wait, this was actually that easy? Hero is practically beaming with excitement, eager to lead them to the ocean and reveal the secrets of salt production. Internally, he's already counting on Takumu's elite forces to make this a breeze. Slam! Agata explodes, calling them insane for risking soldiers in a forest where direction vanishes and monsters roam. But Hero is 3 steps ahead, calmly presenting a magic pin for navigation and a special perfume to keep the beasts at bay. With Hibana providing the intel and counter-strategies, the plan seems airtight. Takumu pushes the envelope, challenging Agata's pride by suggesting that if they refuse, it's because his troops aren't as capable as Hero and his knight. That was the magic word. Agata's expression hardens as he takes the bait, viewing the suggestion as a direct insult to his men. The tension in the room spikes as his pride is pushed to the limit. Takumu doubles down, slamming the table and shouting about the ocean and the salvation salt brings to the people. Even Agata's skepticism can't stand against that kind of passion. Ha finally gives in. But the victory is short-lived. Agata's mind starts connecting the dots, and suddenly, nothing adds up. How did a child know about the ocean? How did they produce so much salt in one day? The realization hits him. Hero's abilities aren't just impressive, they're impossible. The mood shifts instantly from agreement to interrogation. With both Takumu and Agata staring him down, Hero finds himself trapped in the center of the room. The demand is clear. Explain everything, or they won't believe a word he says. The tension in the room is suffocating, and Hero has had enough. He doesn't want an audience for what comes next, coldly demanding that the guards be sent out as his absolute condition for talking. With the guards cleared out, the heavy doors shut, leaving only a small, fragile circle of trust. Hero, his brothers, and their companions stand in a heavy silence around the unconscious figure on the bed. Even with the guards just outside, Hero can't shake the feeling of unease. His mind drifts back to the day his father suddenly brought him home, claiming he was his own child, though it felt more like he'd been plucked randomly off the street. The bond between the brothers is fractured, built on doubt and differing visions of how to save their dying nation. They are as much enemies as they are kin, but Hero knows he can't carry this burden alone. In the solitude of his lab, he realizes it's time to stop hiding and reveal his greatest secret. He knows his brothers love their country, and that's the only bridge he has to reach them. With a look of fierce determination, Hero resolves to prove that his forbidden power is the only true key to their salvation. The bombshell finally drops. Hero admits the truth. He has inherited the legacy of an alchemist and mastered the art. From the tools he created to the knowledge of the hidden ocean, everything was alchemy, a confession that gives his family every reason to banish him from Kaltarosa. Takumu's reaction is immediate and grim, reminding Hiro that alchemy is outlawed by the church and that such a crime could lead to more than just his own death. But Hiro doesn't flinch. He'd rather risk the gallows than watch their country perish in silence. Hiro pushes further, noting that they've all been chasing desperate plans with minimal chances of success, a comment that clearly rubs Takumu the wrong way. But the real blow comes when Hiro reveals he knows exactly what Takumu is planning, a magic sword knight brigade to reclaim their land by force. Hiro systematically dismantles Takumu's dream, acknowledging the strength of the elite troops but exposing the fatal flaw. He warns that the miasma from the magic swords will eventually consume the soldiers, trading a temporary military edge for a future of absolute nothingness. While Takumu is left speechless, Hiro turns his gaze toward Agata. He exposes Agata's own secret plan to save them by selling the country's independence to a stronger neighbor. Agata can only let out a dry laugh, realizing Hiro has seen right through them both. The tension is suffocating as the leaders argue over the survival of their nation. While Agata pushes his agenda, the young prince looks on with a cold gaze, haunted by the memory of Mary, a girl they've already sacrificed just to buy a little more time. Agata claims his diplomacy is the only way to avoid total collapse, but the prince isn't buying it. He sees the ruins of the past and knows that these half measures are nothing more than a slow death sentence for the country. Enough is enough. The prince finally snaps, openly declaring his disapproval of Takumu and Agata's methods. Agata just scoffs, questioning if a bit of alchemy is really enough to save them from ruin. With a confident smirk, the prince reveals that his success with salt was only the beginning. He's ready to present a third option that will leave them speechless, signaling Habana to bring in his first miracle. A mysterious veiled woman enters the room, carrying a heavy basket. As the guards and Takumu look on in confusion, the prince calmly allows her to approach, setting the stage for a reveal that defies logic. The veil is lifted, and the room goes silent. There, sitting in the basket, is a sight completely unthinkable in this wasteland, fresh, fluffy white bread. Takumu's brain practically shuts down in shock. Agata is convinced it's a bluff, but the prince drops a bombshell. This wheat was grown right here in Kaltarasa. The secret? Alchemy and a daring use of monster corpses to create the ultimate fertilizer. Skeptical but hungry, Takumu takes a bite. The moment the flavor hits, his expression shifts from doubt to pure bliss. It's not just edible, it's incredible. The taste is a revelation, far surpassing anything imported from other nations. As they eat, Agata and Takumu are forced to realize that the prince's alchemy isn't just a hobby, it's a game changer. But the bread was just the appetizer. The prince has Habana reveal a magic sword completely devoid of miasma, proving that alchemy can revolutionize not only their dinner tables but the very nature of war. Wait, Hiro isn't just offering a fix, he's claiming he can completely replace their arsenal. He tells Takumu he can purge the miasma from the magic swords, but then drops a bombshell. He can just make better ones from scratch. And he's not stopping there. He flat out rejects both Takumu's military might and Agata's submission as the way forward. He's on a roll now, painting a picture of a future they never dared to dream of. Salt, wheat, swords. The basics are covered, but Hiro is aiming higher. He's not just talking about survival or stopping the starvation. He's demanding happiness for a people who have suffered far too long. With a clenched fist and a gaze of pure determination, he delivers the final blow to their old way of thinking. He doesn't want basic salvation. He wants absolute prosperity. The silence that follows is heavy. Takumu lets out a cold humph while Agata begins to chuckle. Is this the moment the dream crashes and burns? Suddenly, the tension snaps as both of them explode into hysterical laughter. Hiro is left completely bewildered, staring up at them as they lose it. What on earth is so funny about saving the country? It turns out they're laughing at the sheer absurdity of it all. Takumu admits that the life-risking plans he and his knights crafted look like child's play compared to Hiro's alchemy. Agata joins in, realizing that everything they fought for was practically useless in the face of this power. As the laughter dies down, Agata's expression turns reflective. He admits that while they were fighting for basic life support, Hiro is talking about a level of prosperity they couldn't even imagine. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but he can't help but feel a strange sense of joy that the country might actually be saved. But Hiro sees right through the laughter. He notices that Takumu sounds like he's on the verge of tears, recognizing the shared pain and desperation they all felt. He makes it clear. He doesn't want them to feel like their hard work was for nothing. Then comes the real request. Hiro knows he has the tools, but he lacks the strength to lead or the power to fight. He looks at Takumu and Agata, admitting that he needs their specific talents to actually turn his alchemy into a reality. The siblings are skeptical, wondering if their little brother is just trying to use them after mocking their efforts. But Hiro flips the script with one final shocking line. He's not asking them to follow him. He's telling them to use him as their ultimate tool. Hiro drops a bombshell on his brothers, assigning them roles based on their greatest strengths. Takumu's military might and Agata's intellect. He declares he'll be the one working in the shadows to provide everything they need to win, even telling them they can decide between themselves who becomes king. The air is heavy as the brothers process this unexpected offer. Takumu lets out a long sigh, looking at Hiro with a newfound realization. He can tell his little brother isn't lying. Takumu decides it's time to grow up. If his little brother is this determined, he can't keep acting like a child. With a confident smirk, he vows to conduct himself as a general of the army rather than just a prince. Agata follows suit, admitting that while he wouldn't follow just any skilled kid, Hiro's vision is something else. He agrees to go along with the dream, officially stepping into the role of minister. A confused assistant looks on as the brothers explain the situation. They've acknowledged Hiro and are dropping out of the succession race to work under him. They promise to use their skills to save the country and keep the secret of Hiro's alchemy safe. Then comes the moment that hits home. The brothers humbly ask if Hiro can believe in them, despite being unreliable. Hiro is visibly shaken with emotion, thinking that doubting them now would be an insult to the brothers who finally believe in him. With a beaming smile, Hiro seals the pact, asking them to lend him their strength. For the first time in history, the three princes of Caltarosa are acting as one, leaving their assistant absolutely thrilled that the plan worked. As the sun rises over the castle and city, a sense of hope fills the air. There's no proof yet, but the feeling is certain. This is the beginning of Caltarosa's salvation and its path to prosperity. But once the high-stakes drama ends, the exhaustion kicks in. Hiro is caught in a massive yawn, admitting to his companion that he really doesn't enjoy the stress of persuading people. Now the real grind begins. While leading a crew to cut a path through the wilderness, Hiro reflects on the mountain of work ahead. From military service to foreign negotiations, he's overwhelmed by the scale of it all, but he's just glad he finally has his brothers on board. Hiro's thinking big, but there's a catch. While he trusts his brothers, their resignation from the throne has shoved him right into the spotlight as the next in line for king. Habana isn't letting him forget it, teasingly suggesting it's time to change his title, even if Hiro finds the whole thing a bit overwhelming. Just call me Hiro, that's the only title he wants for now. But as they trek through the woods, the conversation turns heavy when Habana asks about the king. The truth is bleak. His father has been in a coma for years, leaving Hiro to shoulder the burden as the acting king while he surveys the land. A country without a king is a country on the edge, and that instability is a ticking time bomb. Hiro warns Habana that as he climbs the social ladder, her job as his guard will only get more lethal. But Habana isn't scared. She's actually hunting for a sparring partner who can actually push her to her limits. When Habana asks for someone strong, Hiro's mind goes straight to Takumu, a man who basically ignores the laws of physics and logic. Hiro admits that even with the most advanced alchemy and the perfect counter-strategy, Takumu is a monster who would likely flatten them both. Hiro doesn't sugarcoat it. Habana is probably outmatched. But instead of backing down, that just makes her more determined to take the fight to him. She has no idea she's talking about a legendary soldier who once crushed an army 5 times his own size. Suddenly, the mood flips to something way more important, the bread. Habana is obsessed with the taste, and when Hiro mentions a secret accomplice helped bake it, her jealousy alarm goes off. She's convinced there's a secret romance happening, while Hiro is just trying to survive the accusation. A brief awkward moment between Hiro and Habana is cut short by Takumu, who's starting to doubt their navigation. Guided by a magic pin, they finally reach a massive stockpile of gear. The goal? A beach camp dedicated to the grueling process of mass-producing salt. With a tiny army of fewer than 50 soldiers, Hiro and Takumu realize they can't waste their best men on manual labor. They sketch out a plan to use citizens for the salt work, but the forest is a death trap of blind spots. Takumu throws out a wild idea. Why not just use alchemy to build a road? A road through the magic forest would normally take years, but Hiro's mind is already racing toward the future. He's not just thinking about salt. He's envisioning a massive port and a safe highway for carriages. It's a blueprint for a superpower, if only he can figure out how to build it. The math doesn't add up. 20 kilometers of monster-infested terrain is a suicide mission for any construction crew. Just as Hiro is about to give up, a light bulb goes off in his head. He descends into a frantic, mumbling trance of calculations, leaving Takumu and Habana to wonder when the nonsense will finally end. Hiro is brimming with confidence, promising to put something together before winter hits. The man is far from convinced, sensing that this sudden enthusiasm usually means trouble is brewing. Meanwhile, the girl just glares in silence, clearly not sharing the excitement. The journey finally pays off as the group reaches the coast. A salty breeze sweeps over them as they step onto the wide sandy shores of the beach. The soldiers are absolutely losing it, cheering wildly at the sight of the ocean for the first time. While the girl admires the efficiency of the Caltarasa elites, Hiro and she can't help but wonder, are these hyperactive guys actually the elite force? With camp setup underway, the soldiers are more focused on dinner and the novelty of the beach than their duties. Hiro watches them with a smile, thinking they're just excited for the scenery. unaware of the chaos they're barely containing. Not wanting to waste the opportunity, the man drags Hiro and the girl along to the water's edge. Why settle for boring rations when there's a whole ocean of fresh seafood waiting to be caught? Hiro is on a roll, hauling in fish left and right with ease. But when he casually mentions needing to remove poison from one of the catches, the man is left completely baffled. Just what kind of training has this kid been doing? The mood shifts as the man drops a truth bomb. While he's decided to serve Hiro, his soldiers only respect raw power. Looking at the fierce warriors, Hiro finds it impossible to imagine them ever obeying someone like him. The man is blunt. Soldiers don't listen to words, they listen to strength. Hiro tries to joke about a duel to lighten the mood, but the man doesn't blink. For him, a fight is the only language these men understand. The man asks if Hiro could beat him seriously, and Hiro's internal panic screams absolutely not. Realizing a fake fight won't fool his trained men, the man proposes a loophole. The girl can fight as Hiro's substitute. If she beats him, the soldiers will accept Hiro's strength. The man admits he's weaker than the girl, which is why he'll be the one training her. While she's completely blindsided by the news, Hiro realizes this is the perfect way to strengthen the Imperial Guard. Now the goal is simple: train, grow, and surpass the master. A brutal reality check. The gap in strength is massive, and the girl knows it, but instead of being crushed, she's absolutely thrilled. The man mocks her, but her reaction is a total curveball. She's ecstatic for the challenge. He likes her spirit, but the stakes are high. He sets a deadline, a duel in 1 week, and Hiro will have to use alchemy to bridge the impossible gap. The challenge is officially on the table. The man demands they surpass him together to prove Hiro is a king worth acknowledging. Hiro doesn't blink. He's game. And Hibana? She's all in too, ready to give it everything she's got. But this isn't just a friendly spar, it's a trial. The man makes it clear, if Hiro wants his trust, he has to produce a miracle and force a loss. He leans in with a chilling intensity, reminding Hiro that the weight of the country's future rests on this one result. Hiro takes the bait with a confident smile, promising to follow through. As the tension breaks and the soldiers finish setting up camp, the reality sinks in. He knows the odds are stacked against him. Winning this would be nothing short of a miracle. Under a fading sunset, Hiro and Hibana discuss the grim math of the fight. Hibana can barely last 3 minutes against the man, and 1 week of training won't fix that. But for Hibana, the impossibility is the best part. For Hiro, it's a spark. As an alchemist, there's nothing more addictive than an impossible problem to solve. That impossible demand has Hiro completely fired up. While the camp settles in for the night and the smell of grilled fish fills the air, his mind is already racing. The battle hasn't started, but the mental gears are turning at full speed. Morning brings a new project, building a salt pan from scratch. Hiro hands over the instructions to the soldiers, insisting they learn to produce salt without magic so anyone can do it. Even as he feels the gap between himself and the seasoned troops, he's focused on the long game. As they eat, Hibana reflects on the sudden workload and the harsh truth about her own strength. She realizes she can't just rely on alchemy to make the country strong. Meanwhile, Hiro is feeling the pressure. He's made big promises about military strength, and now it's time to actually deliver. Hiro's vision is clear. Weapons are the great equalizer for the weak. He plans to create tools so powerful that anyone can use them to weaken an enemy, leaving the heavy hitting to Takumu's knights. But Hibana has a different fire in her heart. She wants to win with her own strength, not just a tool. Hiro supports her ambition, telling her to keep training until she can beat him on her own terms, even if it takes longer than a week. He drops a line that changes the mood entirely. Otherwise, I won't be deserving of you. Now, Hibana has a whole new motivation. She'll become the best, just to be deserving of him. The air is thick with tension as these two lock eyes, both blushing furiously. The silence is almost deafening until the boy finally breaks it with a heavy sigh. I'm glad you're confident, he admits, barely keeping it together. The mood shifts instantly to awkwardness as they sit side by side, chewing in silence. The girl tries to break the ice by asking about the next job, building a road from Kaltarosa. While the boy initially doubts the 3-month deadline, he quickly pivots, insisting it's totally doable. But then he reveals his plan, and it's absolutely insane. He's talking about a schedule that includes construction, road making, weapon design, and training, all in one day. Hibana is completely floored by the madness, but she can't help but admire how clever he actually is. Hibana admits that life with him is just one surprise after another. With a confident grin, the boy promises that their trip back through the forest will be great training for the two of them. Fast forward to the next day, and they've arrived at the entrance of the magic forest, ready to work. It's time to get started on that road, but first, a little confession. The boy managed to dump all his paperwork on poor Agata. While Agata smiles through the mountain of files, the real work begins in the wilderness. As they stand at the forest's edge, Hibana is confused. Why aren't they going inside? The boy simply tells her that cutting a path through the trees is a waste of time. Then he crouches down with a look of absolute determination. Boom! With one massive strike, he doesn't just clear a path, he blasts a giant hole right into the earth. Habana is left speechless as he drops a bombshell. If they don't want to go through the forest, they simply don't have to. Looking down into the massive crater, the boy reveals his true plan. He's not building a road, he's building a tunnel. Habana thinks this is even crazier than the original plan, but he just tells her to follow him down. Using the power of alchemy to manipulate dirt and sand, he transforms the ground into a smooth incline for the carriage. With a magic pin for navigation and a magic torch to light the way, they dive deep underground, heading straight for the ocean. He's thought of everything, from avoiding water veins to bypassing forest monsters. Though he does worry about burrowing creatures, he reveals that this is just a larger version of how he built his own workshop. Habana can only watch in disbelief as he literally reshapes the world with alchemy. Who says a tunnel is just a hole in the ground? The boy shows off his alchemized walls, boasting that they're stronger and more waterproof than any brick. He's not just digging a path, he's envisioning a future where his people can finally reach the ocean to fish and thrive, and the girl can't help but admire the happiness in his eyes. The girl is absolutely floored by the boy's massive mana reserves, admitting she'd collapse in minutes doing what he does. Even for him, though, the project is a grind. He reveals the blueprints for a massive double carriage tunnel and asks for her help with the one thing alchemy can't solve, hauling away the piles of leftover dirt. He warns her to take it easy so she's not too wiped for her night training, but she's a total workout freak. She declares that manual labor is where she excels, treating the grueling work as extra training to get stronger. The boy can only watch in disbelief, wondering if he'll eventually have to rescue her from her own intensity. And so, the grind begins. While the girl shovels with everything she's got, the boy unleashes his alchemy to carve through the earth. He's determined to push forward, though he's already calculating exactly how much further his mana can take him. Sweat, dust, and raw power define their day as they tear through the landscape. By the time the sun begins to set, they've moved a mountain of earth, leaving them both completely spent. Time to call it a day. They've managed to carve out roughly 600 meters, far more than the boy expected. He gives her a heartfelt thanks for the heavy lifting, while the girl realizes with a shudder just how many dozens of trips she's actually made. Then, a sudden realization hits the girl. The further they dig, the more brutal the walk back to the entrance becomes. The boy is just glad she noticed, but he's already one step ahead with a plan for the ocean side. Plus, at this pace, they're well ahead of their 3-month deadline. The girl thinks it's just about digging, but the boy reveals the true scale of his ambition. He's not just making a hole, he's engineering a masterpiece, complete with wall reinforcements, drainage systems, air circulation, and professional lighting to ensure everything is perfect. With all those comprehensive plans, the timeline jumps back up to 2 months. The girl questions if such perfection is really necessary, but the boy insists it is for the long term. However, his focus suddenly shifts. He notices she's looking dangerously exhausted and asks if she can even handle her training with Takumu. She insists she's totally fine, but she's shaking like a newborn fawn. Seeing right through her bluff, the boy takes charge, forcing a supplement into her mouth and sternly warning her not to spit it out. Someone's got to keep the workout freak from collapsing. Total system failure. Habana's eyes turn into spirals as she's hit by a wave of pure, unadulterated disgust. The SFX screams it all. She is completely out of it. From a dead heap on the ground to a violent coughing fit, Habana is absolutely appalled. She screams that the disgusting taste of whatever she just took isn't even from this world, while Hiro can't stop laughing at her misery. But then he asks the one question that flips the mood: does she feel any lighter? The effect is instant. Habana is practically floating, spinning with joy as she realizes her fatigue has vanished. Hiro reveals it's a special alchemy medicine, though he warns her it's precious and taxing on the body. When he explains it's a vital lifeline for their small nation's army, Habana is left in genuine awe of his foresight. Habana's drive is unmatched. She wants to be in peak condition to bridge the gap between herself and Takumu. She even admits she was willing to train until collapse and just loop the recovery process, a revelation that makes Hiro wonder if she's a total masochist. Still, she's deeply grateful for the precious gift. As they prepare to head back, the air suddenly shifts. Habana stops Hiro with a serious look, telling him there's something she needs to say before she returns to her training. The tension spikes as she drops a bombshell. She has a request. The world stops. With a deep blush and a gaze full of longing, Habana lets it slip. The one question that changes everything. Could I be your lover? She doesn't back down, doubling down on the confession with a glint in her eye. Hiro is completely frozen, his brain short-circuiting as she bluntly declares, "I'm in love with you." He can only stammer in disbelief, wondering what on earth is happening. Habana's honesty is relentless. She tells him she doesn't care about becoming queen or keeping things secret. She just wants him to love her back. She reveals she fell for the strength of his heart during that meeting with his brothers, leaving Hiro's heart hammering against his ribs in pure panic. Silence falls as Hiro struggles to find a single word, his face heating up in total confusion. Habana just leans in, her expression expectant and hopeful, asking the final crushing question: What do you think? Hiro tries to play it cool by asking about her dating history, but the pressure is too much. Just as he convinces himself he can handle this by relying on basic instinct, he completely panics and bolts. He screams for them to talk another time as he vanishes in a blur, leaving a bewildered Habana to tell him she'll give it some thought. Habana's sudden patience catches the boy off guard, leaving him completely stunned. While she remains calm, his mind is racing, questioning why any country would even consider a royal marriage proposal for a nation as poor as theirs. He admits she's the whole package, strong, smart, and beautiful, but he's not ready to jump into anything just yet. He wants to get to know her first. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the castle's training grounds, where the real work begins. The air is thick with the sound of clashing wood as the boy and Habana observe the brutal efficiency of the soldiers. Stepping into the fray, Habana politely interrupts the session to make her presence known. The soldiers are staring, and the boy knows why. Everyone's heard about the upcoming duel. After a quick word with the captain, the challenge is thrown down. Habana has to prove her worth in a bout against a muscular soldier named Garrod. Garrod stands like an immovable wall, but Habana isn't intimidated in the slightest. She's ready to show off her strength, though the captain's warning is chilling. He needs to assess her first to ensure she doesn't get killed. The stakes just shot up. The captain gives Garrod the green light to fight for real, ignoring the boy's plea to take it easy. But as the battle looms, the captain is thinking about a much bigger problem waiting on the other side. It's time. Habana and Garrod square off on the training mat, the tension palpable. The rules are simple. Wooden swords, one solid hit, and the match is over. Habana is unfazed, but the boy can see the truth. Garrod is a monster. His mana is perfectly controlled to amplify his physical prowess, marking him as one of the absolute best among the elite soldiers. The world narrows down to just the two of them. One word, Begin, and they explode into motion, blurring across the courtyard in a sudden violent dash. Habana is a blur of speed. Garrod barely manages to block the first strike, but before he can even process what's happening, she's already attacking from every angle. The elite soldier is completely blindsided by her sheer velocity. Habana is a blur of motion, circling Garrod with terrifying speed. The observer watches in awe, noting how her flawless footwork allows her to pivot like an axis and completely overwhelm Garrod with a relentless offensive. But as the blades clash, Habana realizes something chilling. Garrod's isn't flustered at all. He's making minimal movements to parry her strikes, calmly luring her in like prey. The tide turns in an instant. Habana's high-speed tactics have drained her stamina, and Garrod, having adapted to her style, begins to land heavy, crushing blows. Seeing a gap, Habana lunges forward with a confident, "Gotcha!" But Garrod is one step ahead, slipping past her attack with ease. The counterstrike is immediate and brutal. Garrod catches her off guard, sending her reeling back as the momentum of the fight shifts completely. One final explosive impact. A massive bam echoes through the courtyard as Habana is sent flying by a decisive blow. It's over. Panting for breath, Garrod declares his victory, while a defeated but respectful Habana admits that he is truly strong. After a sportsmanlike exchange, the observer praises them both for a good fight. However, when he describes Habana as relatively strong, she immediately bristles. What exactly does relatively mean? The tension shifts as the observer asks to borrow Habana's sword. He hands the weapon to Hiro, leaving the boy confused as he holds the blade out, wondering why this is happening. No more talking. With a sharp "Here I come," the observer launches into a sudden, lightning-fast assault. A sudden, violent crash echoes through the courtyard as a sword is completely shattered. The young boy can only stare in absolute shock as the armored warrior stands over the wreckage of the blade. Takumu remains unfazed, coldly noting that while the sword was sharp, it simply couldn't hold up. When Ahib demands to know what he's doing, he drops a chilling truth. This is exactly what would happen with real swords, and if he were to parry her blade, she would lose instantly. Habana is livid, seeing this as nothing more than Takumu looking down on her. She challenges him to prove his confidence by winning, but Takumu just smirks, claiming he doesn't even need a handicap to beat her. The air turns heavy as Takumu delivers one final jab. If you can win, that is. Determined and fueled by pride, Habana draws her sword, promising the watching boy that she will be the one to emerge victorious. Watching from the sidelines, the boy realizes the mood has shifted. Habana isn't just testing the waters anymore. She's fighting to win. He knows Takumu was being provocative, but he wonders if the warrior is actually underestimating her. The two combatants face off, their eyes locked in a silent battle of wills. Then the command rings out across the grounds. At the ready, begin. Blink and you'll miss it. In a flash of movement, the fight is already over, leaving Habana sprawled on the ground in total defeat. The silence that follows is deafening. The boy is frozen, his mind struggling to process how a battle that felt so tense could end in a literal instant. Analyzing the movement, the boy realizes he misread the strategy. He thought Takumu would strike first to avoid defending, but instead the warrior did something far more dangerous. He let Habana strike first, moving his entire body to evade the attack completely. With a single, precise counterstrike, the match was sealed. It wasn't about raw speed or power, but pure, fundamental skill, reading the opponent's breath and adjusting distance down to the millimeter. Takumu didn't need a plan. He simply revealed the overwhelming gap in their strength. A brutal reality check. The girl doesn't hold back, tearing into the man's swordsmanship as tainted by talent and painful to watch. She exposes his fatal flaw, a complete lack of observation and thought, warning him that he'll never beat a truly strong opponent as he is now. After dismissing his men with a sharp command, the captain turns to the young prince with a surprising admission. He reveals that while Hibana is a gifted knight, she's being wasted, trapped by her own habit of sorting opponents into those she can easily crush and those she can't. The captain breaks down the tragedy of Hibana's strength. She's never known true frustration. Because she's always been the strongest of her peers, she spent her life swinging her sword mindlessly. To fix this fatal flaw, the captain believes only one thing will work: the crushing weight of a total defeat. The prince realizes the captain wasn't just fighting, he was teaching. Grateful for the lesson, he thanks the man, who then drops a surprising request. He wants the prince to forge him a new sword, a sword forged from the ruins of the old. The captain explains that having his blade shattered by alchemy was a pivotal moment of growth for him. He asks the prince to use the remnants of his old partner to create something new, symbolizing his decision to move forward. The prince accepts, recognizing that a blade with such a rich battle history is the perfect candidate for powerful enchantments. But the captain issues a stern warning. This new weapon is not for the upcoming duel with Hibana. The goal is for both of them to surpass him through their own strength. With a final thanks, the captain departs, leaving the prince to find Hibana still reeling from her loss. He approaches her with a simple, cutting question. "You lost, huh?" For the first time, Hibana is completely undone. Blushing and breathless, she admits that while she's lost before, she's never felt a frustration this intense. The prince doesn't offer pity. Instead, he tells her to use that anger to fuel her growth. The spark of determination returns to Hibana's eyes. She vows to get stronger and never be humiliated again, while the prince promises to help her optimize her gear. Together they head back, the path to victory finally becoming clear. Back at the workshop, the weight of the gap between them settles in for Hibana. She knows training alone won't bridge it in time, and she finally accepts that she needs his help. Seeing her resolve, the prince realizes she doesn't need comfort anymore, just a partner who can uphold his end of the bargain. A pact is made. They're determined to beat Takumu together, but the sting of defeat still lingers. While Hibana admits the gap in their power is shocking, she's grateful for the lesson learned from her loss. Hibana is hitting a wall. Even with a better sword, she feels she can't bridge the gap in just 1 week, leaving her feeling completely at a loss. But the prince has a plan that changes everything. Forget the sword. The prince decides to upgrade the wielder. He breaks down the limits of her weapon and proposes something wild, an armament designed to boost her kinetic vision and reflexes. 3 minutes of peak performance? Hibana is skeptical, but the prince is already prepping a demonstration. He brings out a strange device, promising to show her exactly how it works. Then it happens. With a sudden flash and a crackle of energy, he reveals the secret ingredient, electricity. Electricity? Hibana is completely baffled by the concept. Since words can't easily explain the science, the prince suggests a more hands-on approach. Wait, is this getting lewd? The mood shifts instantly as Hibana's mind goes to the gutter, and the prince finds himself in a very awkward position, trying to reassure her before the demonstration. Bam! No romance here, just a massive electric shock. The prince can't help but laugh at her priceless reaction, while Hibana is left reeling from the sudden jolt. Now comes the science lesson. By manipulating nerves with electricity, the prince shows her how to force muscles to move against their will. It's a terrifying but brilliant way to overclock the human body. Motivation restored. Hibana is ready to dive into training to analyze Takumu's movements, but as they wrap up, one lingering question remains. Why did she think this buff was associated with something lewd? A scientific experiment that sounds way too intimate. To get the data he needs, Hiro explains that clothes are just in the way. He needs to touch Hibana's bare hands to run electricity through her nerves. Hibana agrees, but not before insisting on a quick cleanup. Why? Because no girl wants her crush to see her covered in sweat. As they head to eat, Hiro drops a bombshell. There's someone special he wants Hibana to meet. Hibana's radar goes off instantly when she catches a certain tone in his voice. The person you like, she teases, noticing how genuinely happy Hiro looks just talking about them. Hiro doesn't just admit he likes this mystery person. He goes full throttle and confesses he loves her. Hibana's brain practically shuts down from the shock. 1 second they're talking about saving the country, and the next, Hiro is dropping love bombs. Enter the mystery girl. She rushes in, apologizing for her normal clothes because she was in such a hurry to see Hiro. She looks casual, but there's an undeniable spark in the air as she finally arrives. The tension spikes when Hiro notices her perfume, telling her she looks great. The girl's heart races, and she immediately starts overthinking. Is he trying to seduce her? She quickly draws a hard line in the sand, though Hiro just finds her timidness amusing. As they lead Hibana toward the royal quarters, the suspicion reaches a breaking point. Hibana's mind jumps to the worst-case scenario. Is this beautiful royal girl actually Hiro's fiancé? They step into a breathtaking royal library, a former study turned into a personal sanctuary. Hibana is floored by the sheer amount of knowledge stored here, but a mysterious voice suddenly welcomes them from the shadows. And then she appears. Bathed in light and wearing a stunning dress, the girl is an absolute vision of elegance. Hibana is completely mesmerized, wondering if this is the legendary knight she's heard about. The introduction is short and sweet, but the reaction is explosive. Hibana is instantly smitten by how cute the girl is, while the blonde girl looks like she's just won the lottery. "I knew it!" she screams in pure excitement. The reveal finally hits like a freight train. The girl lunges into a hug, revealing she's Hiro's little sister, Princess Nayuki Caltarosa. Hibana is left absolutely stunned. The person he loves is actually his own sibling. The air is thick with awkwardness as Hibana finally comes face to face with Princess Nayuki. Prince Hiro is practically panicking, wondering why the introductions took so long, while he apologizes for keeping the princess hidden. But Hibana doesn't let the tension last. She immediately drops to one knee, formally introducing herself as the prince's royal knight. Before Hibana can even process the moment, she's hit with a sudden crushing hug. Princess Nayuki is absolutely thrilled, revealing that she's heard all about Hibana from Hiro and has admired her strength from afar. Hibana is completely blindsided, her brain practically shutting down as the princess's pure admiration sparkles all around her. The cuteness is too much to handle. Hibana loses it, squeezing the princess in a hug of her own and admitting she just can't resist Nayuki's charm. But just as things get a bit too intense, a stern voice cuts through the air, demanding she stop for the princess's own protection. Hibana freezes. That voice sounds hauntingly familiar. Enter Rebecca, a vision of elegance and strength in full armor. She arrives with a calm apology for the wait, but her presence sends a shockwave through the group. Hibana is stunned into silence, recognizing her former senior student, while Nayuki jumps for joy at the arrival of her royal knight. The reunion is anything but quiet. While Hiro offers a casual thanks for past help, Rebecca immediately claims Nayuki for herself, declaring that hugs are reserved for her alone. Hibana is ecstatic to realize Rebecca was the mysterious servant who delivered the bread, though Rebecca herself is still nursing the secret shame of wearing a servant's outfit. Rebecca's presence brings a mix of warmth and intimidation. She welcomes Hibana home with a compliment on her new rank, but quickly flips the mood, teasing her for not recognizing her sooner. As Hibana blushes under the pressure, Rebecca brings up a mysterious promise from the past, leaving the air buzzing with curiosity. The two warriors reminisce about their brutal training days under Master Heath, with Hibana admitting she's surprised Rebecca settled down to serve a master. Hiro can only watch in silence, remembering just how rough Rebecca really was back then. But when Hibana suggests that Princess Nayuki must be truly special to earn Rebecca's loyalty, the atmosphere shifts into something unsettling. Then it happens. Rebecca completely snaps, bursting into a manic, high-energy embrace of the princess. She declares Nayuki to be the pride of the country and her entire reason for living, swearing to protect her with her life. Hiro and Hibana can only stare in disbelief. Rebecca's obsession with the princess is on a whole different level. With the chaos settled, Rebecca reveals the truth behind her secret operation. She introduces her accomplices, explaining how she orchestrated a clever plan to convince her brothers. It turns out the whole thing was a carefully staged play involving a very specific kind of bait. A flashback reveals the secret mission. Princess Nayuki, disguised as a servant, worked her magic in the kitchen to bake the perfect bread. Rebecca played the part of the delivery girl to keep her identity hidden, all to ensure the plan went off without a hitch. And the final prize? A delivery of the one thing they truly wanted, the pasta. What on earth is this? A girl stares in confusion as Hiro snaps a rock-hard stick, revealing it's actually a dehydrated noodle. He explains the secret. It's a preservation technique that turns a simple meal into a long-term survival tool, all thanks to a custom Alchemy-made pasta machine. The scale of the operation is impressive, with rows of stockpiled pasta that can last up to 3 years. While the locals are used to only dried bread, Nayuki is eager to show them the real deal. With a bright smile, she invites everyone to the dining room for a feast. The dining room is filled with the aroma of success as Nayuki proudly presents her creation. Help yourselves, she cheers, treating her guests to the fruits of her hard labor. One look at the spread and the group is floored. From the steaming bowls of pasta to the creamy white sauce and fresh sides, it's a culinary masterpiece that leaves them speechless. Amidst the excitement, Rebecca wears a look of pure smugness, teasing the others to enjoy the meal Nayuki slaved over. Hiro doesn't waste a second, adding a pinch of salt before taking that first crucial bite. The reaction is instant. It's delicious. Hiro is stunned that something so dry could become so smooth and firm, admitting that Nayuki's handling skills far surpass his own test batches. Nayuki can barely contain her pride, blushing at the high praise. Hiro continues to shower Nayuki with compliments, calling her trial and error process amazing. Flustered, she tells him to stop talking and just eat the potato sauce she crafted with mushroom stock and salt. As he tastes the rich sauce, Hiro is struck by a realization. While he knows about potato sauces from his past life, in this world potatoes are only ever boiled, meaning Nayuki invented this on her own. Then comes the final surprise, a sharp, sour sauce that catches them off guard. Nayuki admits the vinegar base was actually a complete accident from a failed experiment, but the result is a perfect blend of oil, salt, and dried meat. The meal is a resounding success, with everyone agreeing the flavors are rich and satisfying. Impressed by her ingenuity, Hiro asks for the recipes, and a beaming Nayuki happily agrees, wanting her creations to be shared with as many people as possible. Nayuki is practically being crushed in a hug. While she struggles for air, the prince reveals his grand plan. They aren't just giving the people wheat flour, but teaching them to make delicious pasta and sauces. Nayuki, finally catching her breath, asks if he actually managed to make that certain thing he was aiming for. He beams with confidence. It's not perfect, but it's definitely ready. The mystery deepens as the prince describes his creation as a symbol of prosperity. One of the girls is dying of curiosity, begging him to stop talking in riddles and just tell her what it is. Meanwhile, another woman recalls the taste as divine, something unheard of in Culturosa. With a simple command, Rebecca is sent to fetch the secret treasure. Then comes the reveal. Frothy, golden liquid pours from a barrel, filling the room with a rich, intoxicating aroma. The girls lean in, sniffing the air with wide eyes as the mugs are filled to the brim. One of them can't help but wonder, could this actually be what she thinks it is? You'll know once you taste it, the prince says with a knowing smile. He takes a massive gulp, and for a moment he's transported back to another life. It's the perfect hit, that initial bitter punch followed by a lingering sweetness. This isn't just a drink, it's the bold, strong taste of barley and hops. Pah! He lets out a sigh of pure bliss, absolutely loving the treat. The girls are stunned, and the prince confirms the truth. It's high-quality ale. Ever since he managed to grow wheat, he's been dreaming of bringing alcohol back to this land. But this isn't just about a drink. The prince knows that for a country to truly prosper, survival isn't enough. The people need happiness and luxury. This ale is the perfect symbol of that. Even the girl who's tasted ale in Kanar is floored by the quality, a result of the perfect blend of good wheat, Nayuki's cooking talent, and a secret recipe. Suddenly, the mood shifts. The prince calls out to Nayuki, his expression turning dead serious. He drops a bombshell that leaves everyone speechless. At the upcoming harvest festival, he's going to announce to the entire population that he will be king. The goal is set. He wants to treat every single person to this ale during the festival, and Nayuki enthusiastically takes on the challenge, promising to make it happen. While the prince admires her reliability, Rebecca almost causes a disaster by nearly spilling the drinks, prompting a quick save from their companion. As he looks at Nayuki, the prince reflects on how others see her, as too meek for politics or a weapon for the throne. They see her terrible reflexes and kindness as weaknesses, but he sees the truth. She possesses the one thing truly needed for prosperity, and he's determined to make his brothers see her in a whole new light. The pieces are falling into place. With Agata's help, they'll seed the fields and spread Nayuki's recipes to the masses. While other duels and dramas unfold, the prince's vision is clear. With his allies by his side, the country is finally ready to start moving forward. The quiet of the alchemy lab is thick with an unspoken tension as Hiro focuses on his work, while a certain someone watches him from across the room. Then comes the request that catches him completely off guard. She needs an hour. When Hiro asks why, the answer is hilariously honest. She ate so much that her stomach is bulging, and she begs him to understand a maiden's feelings. What follows is a desperate, sweat-drenched battle against calories. After an hour of intense exercise and a quick towel-off, she finally returns, breathless and ready. The atmosphere shifts instantly as she steps back into the room. With a soft apology for the wait, she approaches Hiro, who can only look up in anticipation. And then the bombshell drops. She stands before him completely stripped down, blushing but determined, asking the one question that makes the air feel electric. Shall they start? Hiro's brain practically shuts down. Flustered and barely able to look her in the eye, he awkwardly asks her to stand over there, promising to finish the process as quickly as possible. The first touch sends a jolt through both of them. As Hiro begins, he notices a startling contrast. Her hands are ice cold, but her body is burning hot. He can't help but remember how wild and carefree Habana was at the beach, which makes her current quiet submission feel all the more surreal. It's a war between desire and duty. While fighting the urge to be distracted, Hiro unleashes a surge of electricity, noting that she truly has the ideal body for this. Turning the tension into training, Hiro tells her she has real talent. If she can master these vibrations, she can finally close the gap with Takumu, because together, they're the only ones who can win. Things get wild as a girl's imagination runs rampant, picturing a squad of muscular men in armor. She's not just dreaming though, she's planning to equip an entire elite force with high-end armor and special swords to build an army that could rival the legendary Golden Knights Brigade. But there's a catch. She insists the boy must be able to crush his opponents with ease, even without alchemical gear. Just as the pressure peaks, her mood flips instantly, and she becomes a whirlwind of energy, apologizing for her earlier whining. A quick mention of some motivating pasta leads to a sudden shift in scenery. Now they're deep in a tunnel and the girl is completely spent, her voice trailing off as total exhaustion hits her like a truck. The boy tells her it's time to call it a day and head back to her room, but then she drops a bombshell. Blushing furiously, she admits her heart was pounding the entire time he saw her naked. That one confession leaves him completely flustered, his brain practically shutting down as he struggles to process the comment. He can only mutter that such things are troubling while she walks away, leaving a heavy, awkward silence in her wake. The next day, the grind continues at a tunnel near the magic forest. While the boy worries about the technicalities of drainage and ventilation as they dig deeper, he decides it's finally time for a much-needed lunch break. Lunch is a total game-changer. They dive into a box of meticulously crafted pasta rolls filled with seasoned minced meat, a recipe from Princess Nayuki that tastes like pure heaven to their exhausted bodies. The girl is still grumpy about the early start, but the boy has something else on his mind, his upcoming training with Prince Agata. As he tells her he's too busy to watch her train today, he reaches into his bag for a secret reveal. Wait, is that a bodysuit? He reveals a sleek black outfit designed to boost her abilities using the power of electricity. She's stunned, knowing that such a complex piece of gear usually takes 2 days to complete. Suddenly, she grabs his face, her eyes narrowing as she spots the dark circles under his eyes. He admits the truth, he only slept for 5 minutes to finish the suit, and she pulls him into a tight hug, overwhelmed by his dedication. The tension is high as a young man pushes himself to the absolute limit, ignoring warnings that he's about to faint. He's determined to keep digging tunnels, insisting that a single day's break is a luxury they can't afford. But there's a softer side to his drive. He reveals he stayed up the entire night just to create something special for the girl by his side. It's a reveal that leaves her breathless. A custom-made suit. He admits it's far from a final masterpiece, but he wants her to wear it, find its flaws, and help him make it stronger. With a determined smile, he encourages her to embrace the process of improvement, and she accepts the gift with heartfelt gratitude. The scene shifts to the imposing walls of a castle and a quiet, book-filled library. A blond man awaits the young prince, greeting him with a mix of relief and purpose. There's no time for idle chatter, though. He immediately presents a set of documents that need an urgent review. As the prince flips through the papers, a shocking plan comes to light. Planting wheat across the country's fields this very year. The blond man explains the crushing weight of the decision, noting that the risk isn't just on the people, but on the survival of the entire nation. He breaks down the land into 2 categories, private and state property. The state-owned fields operate on a unique, grueling system. Soldiers who aren't full-time knights split their days between training and farming, alongside landless sons and foreign hires. They are paid by the state but must pay for their own harvests, eventually earning a government-owned farm as a retirement benefit. Thanks to a plan by someone named Agata, the country has finally seen a surplus, but a psychological wall remains. The blond man explains that the people are terrified of growing wheat because they've failed so many times in the past. No matter how many promises are made, they won't risk it without a proven success to follow. The stakes couldn't be higher. In this land, one bad harvest means immediate starvation. That's why the government must lead the way and prove the crop can grow first. By using soldiers on state land, the government ensures that even if the wheat fails, the workers won't starve because their wages are guaranteed. To cover all bases, the blond man reveals a secret stockpile of salt to use as a safety net in case of failure. The prince agrees that the logic is sound and wants to move forward, but then he drops a bombshell. There's one major problem standing in their way. The problem? The soldiers themselves are refusing to budge. Despite being offered pay even if they fail, they've demanded to keep growing potatoes. Their reason is heartbreakingly noble. They don't want to regret a lost crop, and they fear that if they fail, someone else in the country will starve. While the blond man is moved by the people's fierce love for their fellow citizens, the prince knows they're running out of time. If they don't plant now, they'll be a whole year behind. The mission is clear. They must succeed on state land this year to secure the seed pods needed to transform the entire country by next year. A terrifying realization hits. Relying solely on potatoes is a gamble with death. Prince Hero warns that a single plague could trigger a catastrophic famine, making the introduction of wheat not just a goal but a necessity for the country's survival. While a blonde advisor suggests simply forcing the soldiers to comply, Hero shuts the idea down instantly. He knows the true strength of his nation lies in the people's love for their land, and breaking that trust for a quick fix is a risk he's not willing to take. The clock is ticking. With winter looming, Hiro knows he has only a fortnight to sow the crops, or everything will be lost. He doesn't just want the work done. He wants his people to believe in a prosperous future. Standing amidst the archives, Hiro turns to Agata with a determined look in his eyes. He makes a simple but pivotal request. He wants the chance to convince the people himself. 5 years ago, the prince was a whirlwind of relentless energy. Even as his soldiers begged him to rest, a young hero pushed his body to the absolute limit, swinging his sword until he literally collapsed from exhaustion. His obsession wasn't for glory, but for survival. He refused to let his people starve again. This raw passion didn't alienate the workers. It inspired them, leading a young man named Simon to offer him a humble potato lunch as a sign of respect. Back in the present, Hiro and Agata watch the farmers from the castle walls. When Agata asks why he doesn't just call them over, Hiro remains steadfast, refusing to interrupt their hard work just because he has the free time. He knows that power can command, but it cannot persuade. To truly win them over, Hiro believes he must show genuine sincerity, otherwise the people will only pull away from his efforts. Hiro admits that Agata's silver tongue is far superior to his own, yet he suspects there's a deeper reason for their current approach. Suddenly, the sound of a bell echoes through the air. The workday is finally over. The moment Hiro appears, the atmosphere shifts to pure joy. Simon and the other workers swarm him with warmth, eager to hear the rumors about his success with salt, and letting him know just how much they've missed their prince. The farmers are ecstatic, praising the new tools that have made their grueling work a breeze. But behind the smiles, Prince Hiro is calculating, knowing the country's iron is dangerously scarce and prioritized for war. He's glad the tools helped, but his mind is already on a bigger gamble, the potential of the land. A heavy sigh escapes him as he realizes the farmers are terrified of the unknown. They have no desire to risk everything on wheat. It's time to stop hiding. He steps forward, preparing to address the crowd and take responsibility. Who said that we should grow wheat? The question hits like a thunderbolt. The crowd erupts in confused whispers, stunned to realize the prince himself is the one driving this risky agenda. The air turns cold as the farmers feel abandoned, wondering if the prince even cares about their survival. But just as the tension peaks, he reveals his trump card, actual physical stalks of wheat. He promises a miracle, special fertilizers and yields that dwarf potatoes, ready just in time for winter. But the farmers are haunted by the ghosts of past famines, remembering the countless times they were told, this time for sure, only to starve. The tension finally snaps. A farmer screams in frustration, accusing the prince of gambling with their lives. In their eyes, his innovation is a threat that could rob them of a safe winter. While the anger boils, Prince Hiro remains calm, analyzing the social dynamics. He realizes that Simon is the key, a trustworthy man who needs to see the results in the fields behind the workshop to be convinced. He drops the pleasantries and delivers a brutal truth. Potatoes are a dead end. He warns them that if they don't switch to wheat, a single crop failure could mean the total collapse of the country. Then comes the move no one expected. The prince casts aside his royal dignity and bows deeply, pleading for their trust. The farmers are left speechless, completely floored by his sudden humility. He knows he's not a smooth negotiator like Agata, but he doesn't want to be. By getting his hands dirty and working in the fields, he's stopped being just a royal. He's finally become one of them. Simon is absolutely losing it. He's screaming at the top of his lungs, questioning if growing wheat is even possible. He brings up the crushing history of failure. His dad, his grandpa, and generations before them all failed. The pressure is suffocating. Despite the chaos, Prince Hiro gives a quiet, firm promise. That's all it takes to flip the switch for Simon. He's suddenly all in, shouting his belief and practically forcing Hiro to look him in the eye. He can't stand to see the person he owes everything to acting so defeated. Hiro is touched by the trust, but the mood crashes instantly. The other farmers aren't nearly as convinced. They call Simon insane and mock the prince, claiming a royal who's never known hunger couldn't possibly know a thing about farming. The air turns toxic as the farmers' resentment boils over. They see Hiro as just another royal who looks down on them, thinking the land will just obey his whims. Hiro is shaken, but he knows he can't back down. He has to win them over one by one if they're ever going to move forward. Just as the negativity peaks, Simon explodes. A massive scream rips through the air, leaving everyone including Hiro completely stunned. The vibe shifts from mockery to pure shock in a heartbeat. Simon is absolutely livid. He repeats the farmers' insults back to them, his voice dripping with disbelief. He demands to know who they think they are, reminding them of the one person who actually stepped up when their crops were on the brink of failure. As Simon speaks, Hiro is haunted by his own memories. He remembers feeling completely useless, lacking the military power of Takumu or the genius of Agata. He felt like he had nothing to offer a country in such desperate need. But Simon doesn't see a powerless prince. He sees a leader who bled and sweated alongside them. He reminds the crowd how Hiro ignored his royal status to listen to their complaints and even provided them with iron hose. Meanwhile, Hiro admits to himself that his efforts were just a way to cope with his own feelings of helplessness. Then, Simon drops the ultimate truth bomb. He reveals that Hiro spent 3 days and nights without sleep just to save his mother's life when there wasn't a single doctor in the land. He's beyond furious that anyone would dare say the prince doesn't care about his people. The tide has completely turned. Simon's raw passion convinces the others that Hiro's efforts are enough to trust him. If the prince says wheat is the way, then they're all in. With one final thunderous shout, the farmers commit to believing in Prince Hiro. Hiro stands before the men, desperate to say something, but his emotions are overwhelming him. He's frozen, the words just won't come out. It's a feeling he's never known before, a raw, surging emotion that leaves him breathless. Then the silence is broken. One of the men speaks up, and the admission hits like a ton of bricks. They were wrong. The truth pours out, a haunting memory of starvation and death from 5 years ago. Their fear had blinded them, leading them to blame the one person they actually owed everything to. But Hiro doesn't hold a grudge. He looks them in the eye and promises he'll never betray them. With a surprise gift in hand, the mood flips instantly from despair to pure determination. It's time to grow that wheat. The bread is a hit, and the men are practically obsessed. As Hiro walks away, he reflects on the weight of their trust, knowing he must be more farsighted than ever, even if Simon is busy teasing him for almost crying. Back at the palace, the quiet echo of footsteps fills the hall. A simple "you did well" Hiro from his companion brings the whole ordeal to a close. But was it just luck? His companion asks if he planned this all along. Hiro admits it. He had the skill to handle it, but he let someone else take the lead to secure the loyalty of Simon, the heart of the people. Hiro claims he hates calculating people, but his mentor isn't buying it. This is politics, and it's exactly what a future king needs. But just as the conversation settles, Hiro drops a bombshell. There's a second reason, and it's 100 times more important. The mood shifts instantly. The mentor reveals the real lesson he wanted to teach him, the very thing he feared in him. Hiro is stunned. Is he actually afraid of him? His answer is a chilling, honest yes. "You've always helped people." A voice reminds Hiro, flashing back to his humble deeds. But as they walk through the palace, the white-haired man drops a bombshell. Those small acts of kindness aren't just gestures. They're a source of immense power. Hiro can only stare in shock, wondering how helping others could possibly translate into strength. The secret is revealed. It's the people's trust. Through visions of Hiro helping villagers with their daily chores, the man explains that this trust is an irreplaceable treasure and the ultimate weapon. Once the people believe in you, they'll listen to anything you say, but it's a power that can't be bought or rushed. With a knowing smile, the white-haired man tells Hiro that his self-satisfaction in helping others has actually planted seeds of loyalty that will change the entire country. He delivers the words Hiro has been longing to hear. Everything he's done up until now was never a waste of time. As the man walks away, Hiro is left reeling, the weight of those words sinking in. He looks back at his past struggles, digging in the dirt and working tirelessly, realizing that he's been craving this validation the entire time. But the moment of warmth is cut short by a cold reality check. The man warns Hiro that alchemy is merely a tool, and relying on it to change a nation is pure hubris. He leaves Hiro with a chilling ultimatum. If he ever forgets the value of the people's trust, he'll take the country for himself without mercy. Instead of being intimidated, Hiro just smirks. He's glad the man figured it out. Feeling a renewed sense of debt and determination, he looks out over his kingdom, vowing to remain worthy of the people's belief and the legacy of the two brothers. With his love for his country confirmed, Hiro heads straight to the front lines, the farm fields. He finds the workers struggling to read instructions, and with a gentle smile he steps in to guide them, bridging the gap between the crown and the commoners. The agricultural revolution begins. Hiro takes charge of wheat production, introducing fertilizers and efficient methods to the skeptical farmers. He's not just showing them how it's done, he's building a system where the students of today become the teachers of tomorrow. The results are staggering as the wheat fields expand and tunnels are dug, all while Hiro balances his royal duties with the reckless life of a farmer. He explains the science of frost-resistant wheat to the amazed locals, finding a deep sense of fulfillment in the hard work. The farmers are practically vibrating with excitement at the thought of a delicious harvest. Looking at their joy, Hiro envisions a future where the entire country is smiling just like this. But for now, the hard-working prince returns to his desk, thinking only of one thing, dinner. A sudden crash shatters the silence as a girl staggers through the door and collapses in a heap. The prince jumps up in shock, his voice laced with panic. "Is she okay?" She's completely out, sprawled across the floor. He calls out her name, Hibana, as the gravity of her condition sinks in. With gentle care, he applies a homemade ointment to the severe wounds on her back. But amidst the pain, there's a silver lining. He notes that because she finally landed a hit today, she's finally overcoming her weakness. Then comes the line that freezes the air. He tells her she can do the front herself, adding that he'll handle that part after they're married. While she's left reeling from the tease, he quickly pivots back to the mission, explaining how her acceleration and equipment made that hit on Takumu possible. Resting on the couch, Habana feels the difference. The adjustments are perfect. She's now certain she can secure a crushing victory within 3 days, and the prince can't wait to see her take down Takumu. The conversation shifts to the elite Golden Knights. Habana explains that while 8 of them are truly outstanding, the rest are just fillers, and with the prince's sword in her hand, she's confident she can win. But there's a higher tier, the 3 holy swords, warriors even more special than the rest. This sparks a question in the prince's mind. If Takumu equipped his magic sword, could he actually defeat those 3? Habana isn't sure if Takumu would win or lose, but the prince is already thinking 10 steps ahead. He realizes that by factoring Takumu's world-class strength into his plans, the possibilities for the country expand exponentially. The mood turns grim as the prince contemplates the dark side of prosperity. He knows that once their neighbors realize how wealthy the country has become, they will attack. To him, the only way to ensure peace is to create a situation where fighting is absolutely impossible. His vision is bold. By creating 2 sword saint-class warriors in Habana and Takumu, the country will have the ultimate trump card. Habana agrees with the logic, but she knows the truth. To truly beat the Golden Knights, they still need one more person. The tension spikes as Habana puts the prince on the spot, declaring that the last person for the role should be him. He's quick to deny it, insisting his skills aren't the best of the best, but Habana isn't buying it. She sees a potential in him that he refuses to acknowledge, telling him that with his style he could be the third. Suddenly, the mood shifts to pure chaos as Habana makes herself way too comfortable in the prince's room. He's absolutely flustered, shouting at her for leaving her clothes everywhere, though he secretly admits that witnessing silver alchemy magic might be a good idea. Just as he's processing her carefree nature, she leans in with a request that catches him completely off guard. It's not just a weapon to her. Habana reveals she wants a name for her sword, viewing it as a life-saving partner and a precious gift from the prince. To her, simply calling it a magic sword is far too sad for something that holds so much meaning. She puts the responsibility squarely on him. Since he gave it to her, he's the only one who should name it. The prince is baffled by the request, but seeing her earnestness, he gives in. He chalks it up to the sentiments of a maiden, but he's officially on naming duty. A moment of pure cinematic grace. Habana stands with her blade, the air practically shimmering around her. In this light, she's no longer just a student. She's a warrior radiating strength and beauty. The prince finally delivers the verdict. Fireworks. Habana's reaction is immediate and confused. She's left blinking in disbelief, wondering what on earth a sword has to do with pyrotechnics. He explains it with a poetic touch, describing fireworks as flowers that bloom in the sky, just like the beauty of her sword swings. Habana is completely smitten by the romance of the idea. To seal the deal, the prince promises a real fireworks display and a banquet if she wins her upcoming duel against Takumu. The prince tries to play the strict mentor, claiming she needs time to reflect rather than party, but Habana's resolve is ironclad. She refuses to lose, declaring it's too sad to wield a sword without knowing what it stands for. Moved by her spirit, the prince decides he'll actually pull off the impossible and create real fireworks just to see her watch them. In his mind, the image of Habana watching the lights is more breathtaking than any explosion. Meanwhile, the reality is much sweatier. Habana is pushing her body to the absolute limit. Despite the prince's warnings not to overdo it, she refuses to rest until she's perfected her strength. While the prince dives into his alchemy to prepare the surprise, the clock is ticking. Under the bright sun of the castle, Habana tightens her grip on her sword with a determined smile. The duel is almost here, and she's ready to bloom. The day has finally arrived. The arena is set, the nobles are gathered, and the tension is palpable. It's the day of the duel. Prince Hiro makes his entrance, but he's not the only one stealing the spotlight. Princess Nayuki arrives with a playful wink, sending the crowd into a complete frenzy, while Habana looks on with a sharp, jealous glare. The stage is set for a clash of titans. Facing off against Hiro and Habana is a formidable warrior, standing tall and imposing before the royal court. Memories of past battles surface as the referee steps forward. This isn't just a spar. The stakes are dangerously high, and there's no guarantee that everyone will walk away from this fight uninjured. The rules are brutal. Real swords, one slash to win, and the ultimate prize, the throne. The second prince has already stepped aside, meaning the winner of this duel will automatically become the next king. Both combatants agree to the terms without hesitation. Steel clashes as Habana and Takumu lock blades in a sudden burst of intensity. Hiro places his entire future in Habana's hands, while Takumu trusts only in his own strength. Then, Takumu drops a bombshell that leaves everyone speechless. He admits he actually wants Habana to win, sending a wave of absolute shock through the crowd and Hiro himself. But don't mistake his wish for weakness. Takumu warns that if Hiro's ideals aren't backed by real power, they're nothing more than a fantasy, and it would be better for the country if those weak dreams were crushed right here. The ultimatum is clear. If Hiro fails, Takumu takes the crown, but if Hiro can actually surpass him, Takumu vows to dedicate his life and his army to Hiro's vision for the kingdom. The atmosphere reaches a boiling point as the soldiers watch in anticipation. Habana is locked in, determined to crush her opponent and prove that Hiro is the one true leader this country needs. The energy is electric as a crowd of muscular men erupts in a wild roar. Hiro watches them, realizing just how much respect Takumu commands. He's the legendary wall that every fighter here is desperate to chase. The hype is real. The crowd isn't just waiting for a fight, they're expecting a display of overwhelming power. But Hiro remains calm, reminding Habana that Takumu has already set the stage. Now there's only one thing left to do: win. But Habana is frozen, her nerves clearly getting the better of her. Hiro tries to snap her out of it with a sudden pat on the back, sending her into a total panic. "Are you scared?" he asks, cutting through the tension. She admits it. She was terrified, but that little shock was exactly what she needed to clear her head and find her resolve. Hiro watches her put on a brave face, realizing that Habana has truly grown. With one final beaming smile, Hiro sends her off with the only words that matter: go win. Habana steps forward, finally facing the mountain of a man that is Takumu. Takumu doesn't hold back, throwing down a cold challenge for Habana to try and surpass him. For a moment she feels the crushing gap in their power, a chasm she knows is impossible to cross alone. But then she remembers who's in her corner. A confident smile returns to her face because she knows that as long as she's with Hiro, the two of them can actually pull off a victory. The atmosphere tightens as the official raises his hand, the entire arena holding its breath. Then the command echoes across the grounds. "Let the duel commence!" Bam! Habana doesn't wait a single second. She explodes forward like a lightning bolt, closing the distance in a blur of steel and sheer speed. Hiro's jaw practically hits the floor. Habana activated her special feature the instant the fight began, overclocking her brain and body to push her reflexes to the absolute limit. She knew if she hesitated for even a heartbeat, Takumu would have killed her instantly. The clash is electric. Takumu is pushed to the limit, but the game has changed. It's no longer just a matter of speed. Habana's eyes sharpen as she unlocks a new level of perception. Even the spectators are stunned, noting that while Habana is amazing, Takumu is dodging her strikes with impossibly minimal movements. It's a blur of steel and speed. Takumu weaves through a barrage of attacks before slamming his foot down, bringing his momentum to a dead stop. For a heartbeat, everything freezes. Then the silence is shattered as Habana lunges forward with a ferocious strike. In a shocking move, Takumu launches a powerful thrust with his massive sword. It should have been the finishing blow, but Habana manages to endure the impact, leaving Takumu questioning if his best shot was enough. Seizing the moment, Habana dashes away, circling around to find a gap in his defense. She's found at his blind spot, and she's certain he won't see the coming strike. She dives low, sliding right under his guard with lethal precision. In her mind, the victory is already hers. "I got him!" But just as she thinks she's won, the air screams. Takumu unleashes a sudden, overwhelming counterswing that cuts through the space. Total shock. Habana freezes as she realizes she's walked straight into a trap. The mood flips instantly from triumph to terror. Before she can even react, Takumu is right there, his presence looming over her in a terrifying display of dominance. Pure shock hits the opponent as he realizes he's been completely read. He can't believe it. How did she predict his exact position just from a single opening move? Before he can even process the failure, a blur of steel cuts through the air with a violent whoosh, leaving him wide open. It's Habana. She strikes with absolute precision, her movement a whirlwind of focused power. Hiro screams her name in a desperate cheer, his voice echoing as Habana accelerates into a blinding swooshing dash. Clang. The impact is deafening as their weapons collide, the force of the blow sending a shockwave through the arena. Then, the unthinkable happens. The opponent's blade shatters into pieces. The crowd freezes in stunned silence, unable to believe what they're seeing. A small, arrogant "heh" escapes the man's lips, but it's cut short. In a sudden, brutal flash, a blade pierces his chest with a sickening splurt of blood. The man hits the ground with a heavy thud. Habana stands over him, gasping for air, her chest heaving as the adrenaline begins to fade. The announcer's voice booms across the field. "The winner is Habana Crawford!" Hearing the victory, Hiro doesn't waste a second and dashes toward her, shouting her name in excitement. But the battle isn't the only priority. Hiro immediately springs into action, pouring a reacting alchemical liquid onto Takumu's wound, the mixture sizzling and bubbling as it works to save his life. The battle is over, and the wounded warrior is in total shock. Hiro quickly tends to him, explaining that while the wound is closed, recovery will take 3 days. As he catches his breath, the warrior admits that the gear Hiro crafted for Habana is truly a masterpiece. Despite the pain, a smile crosses the warrior's face as he acknowledges the absolute reliability of Hiro's creations. He tries to stand, ignoring Hiro's warnings, just to loudly proclaim his total and complete defeat. Habana reflects on the clash between her magic sword and an ordinary one. But the warrior is the one who admits her counterattack was far beyond his expectations. He concedes that the match was decided the moment she landed that first hit. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the air, shouting for everyone to look. The warrior makes it clear he didn't hold back, which only makes the victory more impressive. He recognizes the sheer power of Hiro's alchemy, realizing that the gear allowed Hibana to completely overturn the power gap between them. The warrior makes a bold request. He wants Hiro to use his powers to empower them all, pledging his absolute loyalty in return. Hiro accepts the promise with a smile, and the warrior declares his intent to use every resource at his disposal to make the nation strong. With a beaming smile, Hiro turns the request around, humbly asking the soldiers to make use of him to reach their full potential. The men look on, completely won over by the young prince's spirit. The atmosphere explodes into pure chaos as the soldiers erupt in a deafening roar of approval. They don't have a feast to offer, but they give their hearts, hailing Hiro as their future king. Amidst the cheering, Hiro looks toward the observers, feeling the weight of their newfound loyalty. In a quiet moment away from the noise, Hiro leans in to thank Hibana for her effort. She looks at him still shaken, admitting she truly thought it was the end and feels it's a miracle she survived such a devastating blow. Hiro doesn't let her credit luck. He firmly tells her that her victory was earned through her own strength. As he gently pats her head, he delivers the line that makes her heart race. She's grown stronger because she is his knight. The solemnity of the battle is replaced by a wild celebration as the warrior bellows for everyone to feast to their heart's content. Beer flows and food piles up, turning the training grounds into a massive party to celebrate their new leader. A feast was promised, but the reality is a total letdown. Hiro and Nayuki stare down at some bland potatoes, with Hiro admitting they're barely edible even with salt. Just as the mood hits rock bottom, two girls rush in, bringing a sudden burst of energy and a question about how to improve the crop quality. Despite her victory in the match, Nayuki is haunted by the feeling that she only won because of her weapon. While she receives congratulations from the crowd, her mind is on the struggle of a fair fight. Meanwhile, the hungry men at the table are already complaining that the potatoes vanished way too quickly. The disappointment doesn't last long. A blonde girl reveals that the bland potatoes were just the appetizer, as half the stock was used for a real victory celebration for Princess Nayuki. Hiro's eyes widen in shock as a covered dish is brought out with a flourish. The lid pops open to reveal a steaming pile of golden brown goodness. Croquettes? Hiro is absolutely floored. He had only wondered if they were possible in this world, but seeing them right in front of him is a total game changer. One bite and it's pure bliss. The crunch is audible, the oil is bursting, and the flavor is an instant hit with everyone at the table. Hiro is practically in food heaven, declaring them absolutely yummy, while the others can't stop praising the delicious treat. The secret? Pure ingenuity. Hiro explains how they used leftover salted goat fat, mashed potatoes, and milk to create the perfect fluffy filling. The blonde girl is beaming with pride after receiving praise from the tough soldiers, realizing that even leftovers can become a masterpiece. But the celebration leads to a sobering realization. To make these on a larger scale, they need iron pans and plenty of oil, resources that are dangerously scarce in the castle. Hiro starts brainstorming vegetable-based oils, while a protective companion warns that anyone who makes the princess sad will answer to her, king or not. The problem is deeper than just cooking. This country has no mines and suffers from a chronic iron shortage, yet iron is the backbone of prosperity and war preparation. Buying it in bulk from neighbors is an option, but it's a risky move that could be mistaken for a declaration of war. Caught in a spiral of strategic thinking, Hiro is snapped back to reality by a cheerful reminder to relax. But his ambition is already set. He promises to secretly secure a massive amount of iron. He doesn't just want better pans, he envisions a future where every single household has iron pots and knives. A moment of heavy significance follows as a blonde man acknowledges Hiro's growth, telling him he has become the country's next king in both name and deed. With a firm clink of their mugs and a solemn promise, Hiro accepts the weight of his future responsibility. The white-haired man is genuinely impressed, admitting that Nayuki is not only a skilled cook but surprisingly flexible in her thinking. However, the moment the black-haired man suggests she could handle the country's politics, the white-haired man shuts it down instantly. He's firmly against that idea. He wants to protect her from the sharks of high society, yet he feels it's a waste to leave her only in the kitchen. Just as he tries to make a graceful exit to end the conversation, he makes a clumsy mistake, stepping right on a bucket with a loud clatter. Disaster strikes. The sudden movement causes Nayuki to lose her footing and she goes flying with a terrified scream. The two men react in a flash, diving forward to catch her before she hits the ground. They manage to save her, but the result is an incredibly awkward tangle of limbs. The air suddenly feels heavy as the three of them find themselves pressed together in a compromising, breathless pile. Instead of embarrassment, Nayuki is beaming with pure joy, thanking them for the save. While a concerned woman rushes over to check on her, the two men are left blushing, caught in the electric afterglow of the moment. The two former rivals are actually bonding, admitting they've never spoken this openly before. While they share a rare moment of peace, Nayuki is practically exploding in the background, reminding them that she's the one who did all the hard work to make them get along. Just as they're about to split up, the black-haired man stops them with a mysterious grin. He tells Agata and the others to wait, promising that something truly interesting is about to happen. He's not just talking. He's planned a full-blown celebration to honor the fight between Takumu and Habana. With a sharp scrape of a chain and a sudden spark, he triggers a hidden mechanism. Boom! A series of powerful blasts ignite in rapid succession, sending streaks of light screaming into the night sky. The quiet evening is suddenly shattered by a spectacular high-energy display. The sky erupts in a symphony of light and sound. As massive fireworks bloom in brilliant bursts over the castle, the crowd stands frozen in absolute awe at the breathtaking spectacle. The night sky suddenly erupts in a dazzling display of light, leaving the townspeople in absolute shock. Someone explains that these are fireworks, a fire flower blooming in the sky to honor Knight Habana, and asks if the girl beside him likes them. The crowd goes wild, their cheers echoing as they beg King Hiro to do it one more time. The girl is completely spellbound, admitting she's never seen anything so beautiful in her entire life. While some might call fireworks a waste of time, Hiro believes that this kind of waste is exactly what brings true happiness. He looks at the girl and tells her that she is just as beautiful as the fireworks he created, leaving her blushing and genuinely touched. Inspired by the display, the girl vows to work hard so she can become as impressive as the fireworks themselves. Hiro promises to wait for that day, but his mind is already on the next big milestone, the Harvest Festival, where he will finally be proclaimed the next king. Hiro paints a vivid picture of a future feast filled with fresh wheat, ale, and seafood from a newly opened sea tunnel. He envisions a countrywide celebration, but the girl can't help but wonder if such a dream is actually possible. Hiro's answer is simple: he'll try. For Hiro, simply surviving isn't enough. He wants his people to actually live happily. He's determined to build a prosperous future where food is plentiful, and he plans to share this vision with everyone at the upcoming festival. Under a vast, shimmering canopy of stars, Hiro feels a renewed sense of purpose. His goal is clear now, and he's certain that if they keep moving forward, true happiness is waiting for them just beyond the horizon. The romantic tension spikes as the girl clings to Hiro, refusing to let go as they walk. While he complains that she's making it hard to move, it's clear she just wants to linger in this moment a little longer. The girl assumes alchemy was behind the magic, but Hiro reveals the truth. It was all science. He explains the mechanics of gunpowder and metals, promising something even better for the next festival. A celebration the country hasn't seen in 12 long years due to famine. With a bright smile, the girl vows to do her best alongside him, eager to see those fireworks again. But first, there's more important business. Dessert. After enjoying Princess Nayuki's croquettes, they're ready for one last sweet treat. Dessert? The mere mention of the word sends the girl into a state of total shock. The boy leads her through an experimental farm, hinting that there's far more here than just wheat. The scale of the facility is breathtaking, with sparkling glass and serene waterways. But as they step further inside, the girl's jaw drops. She's staring at fruits that are absolutely ginormous. The boy introduces her to the melon, a luxury fruit from the Far East that commands a ridiculous price in their world. The scent is so overwhelmingly sweet it makes the girl dizzy, and she wisely decides not to ask how he managed to get the seeds. One sniff and the girl's stomach is screaming for more. Sweets are a rare treasure in this country. She doesn't hesitate to claim the biggest melon for herself, but then she notices something impossible. The plants are growing without any soil. The boy reveals the secret: hydroponics. He explains that water and fertilizer are all you need, but he can't sell the fruit because the high-tech equipment looks too much like alchemy. The girl can't help but find his logic a bit absurd. While the boy considers using the melons for foreign investment or gifts, the girl is purely focused on the prize. He's secretly impressed by her swordswoman's instincts for picking the best fruit, and they agree to share one massive melon. Pure excitement. The boy quickly preps the fruit, removing the seeds and slicing it into 4 perfect juicy pieces. The boy gives her a pro tip on how to eat it, and the girl dives in without hesitation. One massive bite, and she's instantly transported to a state of pure, sugary bliss. It's a total flavor explosion, rich, sweet, and melting in her mouth. She's so caught up in the moment she actually tries to eat the skin, earning a quick correction from the boy before they prepare to move on. Completely satisfied, the girl leans in close, declaring this fruit heaven and thanking him for the experience. But as she leans on him, the boy is left with a sudden, painful reminder of her strength. Imagine being so obsessed with fruit that you'd actually kill for it. While the prince wishes everyone could enjoy these delicious melons, his companion isn't joking when she says she'd commit a crime just for a taste. Meanwhile, another girl is completely swept away, declaring this the most beautiful and tasty day of her entire life. The prince decides to reward her hard work with something truly special. He leads her to a mysterious wooden building, noting a scent in the air that smells like melons, but with a twist. As the door creaks open, a massive storehouse of barrels is revealed, and he's got a treat that's about to change everything. He opens a barrel to reveal a shimmering liquid, and the girl's eyes widen. Is this actually alcohol? The prince confirms it's a special brew made from melons. When she's horrified that he'd throw away such delicious fruit, he explains his genius move, turning the surplus into a potent drink instead of fertilizer. The prince can't help but think she's way too obsessed with melons, but he's got a plan to keep the liquor for years. As they talk about a future where they can serve this to the people without suspicion, he presents a mug with a flourish. One look at the drink and she's desperate for a taste. He's adjusted the flavor specifically for her, and the result is an absolute hit. She's practically floating, claiming she can feel the pure essence of melons in every sip. The prince explains the science. The high sugar content keeps it sweet even as it ferments, and she decides she could drink this forever. 1 cup is simply not enough. She's completely hooked, begging for more, and the prince, feeling generous, tells her to drink as much as she wants. But as he smiles, a realization hits him. He might have just made a massive mistake. The two spend the afternoon clinking mugs and celebrating among the barrels. It's all laughs and cheers until the atmosphere suddenly shifts. A hand reaches out, touching the prince's face, and he's left wondering how a simple tasting session turned into this. Total disaster strikes. Because the drink was so sweet and easy to go down, she's completely wasted after 7 mugs. Now she's clinging to him, whispering that his eyes are pretty and his skin is warm, leaving the prince frozen in a state of pure panic. He tries to play it safe, telling her she's had too much and needs to go to bed, but she isn't listening. With a hazy gaze and a sudden bold movement, she grabs his chin and tells him there's something she's wanted to ask for a long time. Then comes the bombshell that completely shatters his composure. Blushing and breathless, she asks why he won't just lay a hand on her, confessing her love and giving him a golden opportunity he never saw coming. The prince is officially short-circuiting. The tension is palpable as the boy calls out the girl's mixed signals. He questions why she'd act so bold if she doesn't see him as a man, pushing her to be honest. Completely flustered, she admits that making the first move is just too embarrassing for her. The air grows heavy with uncertainty as she softly asks if he hates her. But he doesn't hesitate, confessing that she's a precious friend to him. Then he drops the bombshell. Does she want to be more than just friends? He doesn't hold back, admitting that he wants more. In a rare moment of raw honesty, he tells her she's beautiful and charming, confessing that he's practically drunk on his own emotions. With a sudden move, he leans in and asks the final question, "Is it okay?" The girl's desire finally surfaces, and she tells him exactly what she wants, for him to just snatch her up in his arms. He doesn't need to be told twice, admitting that he wants the exact same thing. Just as the moment peaks, the boy pulls back, haunted by a promise to change the country and bring back his first love, Princess Mary. The mood crashes instantly as the girl asks the heart-wrenching question, does he love Mary more than her? His honest answer is a devastating "I don't know." Instead of pulling away, she clings to him, declaring that her feelings for him are that strong. The boy accepts this with a surprising calmness, reminding her that he has no desire for the throne and is hers to use however she pleases. He admits he might actually like her more than Mary, but the confession comes with a heavy price. He fears that falling in love will make him lose his resolve to save his sister, creating a brutal conflict between his heart and his duty. The weight of leadership presses down on him as he worries that his emotions might lead him to betray everyone who believes in him. He's terrified that he might just abandon everything to run away with the girl he loves. In the shadows of his own mind, he sees himself as weak. He lets out a heavy sigh, disgusted by his own indecision and the uncool nature of his internal struggle. Vulnerable and uncertain, he asks her if she hates him for his weakness. But before he can even process the answer, she makes her move, leaving him completely stunned and breathless. A sudden tight embrace breaks the silence as she clings to him, her voice trembling with emotion. "Of course not," she whispers, admitting that seeing his weak side only makes her want to be with him even more. To her, this feeling is simply unfair. The boy apologizes, admitting he only feared Habana would hate him, though he feels better now. As they lock eyes in a moment of suffocating tension, she calls him selfish, but beneath the surface, his resolve hardens. He will make this country stronger and take back Princess Mary. He thinks to himself that once he achieves his goal, he might actually have a chance with her. Habana tells him that with him by her side, she feels like she can do anything, though she quickly tries to tell him to forget today's events. He doesn't let it go, earning a playful jab about his high hopes. Suddenly, the mood flips as Habana tries to backtrack, blushing furiously and claiming everything was just the drink speaking. She's hopelessly drunk, and before he can even react, she collapses right into him. With a final thud, she's out cold on the floor. Looking down at her, he can't help but smile. There is no way he would ever forget such a passionate confession from the girl he likes. Under the cover of night, he carefully carries the sleeping Habana through the quiet castle corridors. He makes a silent promise. He'll act like today never happened for now, but once he rescues Mary, he'll finally be able to face Habana with total seriousness. His fist clenches, his determination reaching a boiling point. 2 months pass since Habana's victory, and the nation is transforming at a breakneck pace. From rigorous military training to massive construction projects, the country races toward winter. Breaking the silence of the palace, the prince bursts into a room to deliver a status report. "Father," he calls out, stepping into the lavish bedroom. On the bed lies a man, still trapped in a deep, silent slumber. Sitting by his side, the prince promises to prepare new medication, but he has more to share. He tells his father how much he and the country have changed during this sleep, including the completion of a massive tunnel leading straight to the ocean. The scale of the project is staggering, a feat of engineering that leaves everyone speechless. Standing inside the illuminated modern corridor, a white-haired companion admits that the end result is truly breathtaking. The group is in awe of the semi-permanent magic lights, but the real shock comes when the conversation shifts to what lies beyond the cave. A curious girl asks if there's an ocean out there, and Hiro confirms it with a vision of a shimmering sea. He knows this is a game changer, because the ocean holds far more fish than any lake ever could. The city is already buzzing with excitement over the seafood brought back by the expedition team. But as they prepare to head out, a companion points out a glaring problem. They don't have any horses. Hiro just gives a mysterious look and points to a carriage, claiming he has something way faster than a horse. And then it happens. The carriage blasts through the tunnel with a deafening roar, leaving everyone in absolute shock. The secret? 2 powerhouse knights are pushing the carriage at breakneck speeds, treating the grueling task as the ultimate training session. Inside the carriage, the ride is surprisingly smooth, leaving the passengers stunned by the efficiency. Hiro reveals the secret sauce, a perfectly paved tunnel and the invention of rubber tires to slash friction. He estimates they're hitting 50 km/h, a speed that feels like magic in this world. As they burst out of the tunnel into the open air, the adrenaline is still pumping. While Hiro discusses expanding his fleet of carriages, the 2 knights who pushed them are already at each other's throats. Habana is fuming, determined to prove she's not out of shape and desperate to stay worthy of Hiro's respect. Watching the 2 meatheads brawl, Hiro and his companion can't help but admire the raw power on display. But as they step outside, the bickering fades into a stunned silence. There it is, the vast, sparkling expanse of the ocean, stretching infinitely toward the horizon. With the ocean finally within reach, Hiro suggests a fishing trip, and the men dive in with reckless enthusiasm. Despite the freezing water, the mood is electric as they compete to bring home the biggest catch for their families. It's not just about the food, it's the thrill of a new frontier. Looking at the happy faces around him, Hiro feels a sense of accomplishment for connecting his city to the sea. But he's not resting on his laurels. Back in his study, a mischievous glint enters his eye. The ocean was just the beginning, and he has much bigger plans in motion. The next big victory isn't at sea, but in the soil. Hibana is absolutely floored as she looks out over a golden horizon. Caltarosa is finally growing its own wheat, turning the landscape into a sea of gold. Hiro beams with pride, knowing the hard work of harvesting potatoes has finally led to this moment. While Habana is amazed by how many people joined the cause, Hiro is already thinking about efficiency. He introduces the human-powered reaper, a tool that's about to revolutionize how they feed their nation. Innovation is booming. Hiro's new rollers make reaping wheat a breeze, leaving the locals absolutely thrilled that they can harvest more than ever. But as Hiro looks back on his success, including a foot-powered thresher and a water wheel, he realizes he might have overdone it. Apparently, Agata isn't nearly as impressed. Bam! The mood flips instantly as the leader slams the table, warning that developing too many cutting-edge technologies might put a target on their backs. While Hiro shrinks back in apology, the others jump to his defense, reminding the leader that without Hiro they'd still be starving. For now, the joy of having enough food to last the year outweighs the fear. It's a total agricultural revolution. Between Hiro's miracle fertilizer boosting the potato harvest and the abundance of wheat and salted fish, the struggle for survival is finally over. Hiro can't help but smile. The days of agonizing over limited food options are officially a thing of the past. But this prosperity comes with a dark price. The leader reveals the true purpose of the surplus. They aren't just eating, they're stockpiling for war. A neighboring country is expected to invade as early as spring, and they're even buying salt just to trick the enemy into thinking they're still poor. The clock is ticking. Since the snowy mountains make winter travel impossible, the enemy's fastest route is a spring assault. The leader is clear. They have one winter to become strong enough to crush the invasion and secure enough supplies to survive the conflict. It's time to trade the plow for the sword. The leader declares that magic swords alone won't win this war. They need a proper military force. Takumu is more than ready, his eyes burning with a desire to beat the enemy to a pulp and reclaim the lands and people stolen from them. Hiro fully backs the plan, knowing that reclaiming their fertile lands and 2,000 missing citizens is vital for Caltarosa's future. Takumu is so fired up he offers to make a move right now, confident he's invincible with a magic sword. The leader's response? A cold, hard absolutely not. Strategy over impulse. The leader explains the political gamble. If they attack first, the enemy will call their allies for help. But if they let the enemy invade, they can paint them as the aggressors and turn those same allies against them. Hiro realizes the brilliance of the plan. They need the enemy to strike first. Now the leader turns to Hiro with a massive request. Can he build a weapon capable of securing a victory? Hiro is confident he can deliver by spring, but there's one giant hurdle standing in his way. They're going to need a staggering amount of iron. With traditional iron sources being far too slow, the situation looks grim. But just as the pressure mounts, Hiro flashes a confident grin. He's got a secret idea from his trip to the ocean that ties into another use for food, and the leader is willing to bet everything on it. A look of pure satisfaction crosses Hiro's face as he shares some incredible news. His brothers have finally given him the green light to host a harvest festival. It's a massive deal because the festival has been cancelled for 12 long years, and while the excitement is real, Hiro's heart is heavy. He silently vows to his father that they'll make the country better and eventually bring his sister home. With a final mysterious promise of a surprise for whoever wakes up next, Hiro steps out of the room. He's not just a prince anymore. From this day forward, he's stepping into the role of king. The scene shifts to an explosion of joy. The harvest festival is in full swing, with the air thick with laughter, music, and the smell of a feast that the people have waited over a decade to enjoy. As his carriage rolls in under the night sky, Hiro takes in the electric atmosphere. His companion assures him that his speech will bolster the people's spirits, and the crowd erupts in excitement. The man of the hour has arrived. The moment he appears, the crowd goes absolutely wild. They aren't just cheering for a royal, they're screaming their gratitude for the man who saved their country, hailing him as the Salt Prince. Hiro is completely baffled by the nickname, but his siblings just laugh, telling him to embrace the love of the people. But just as he's processing being the Salt Prince, the crowd flips the script. Now they're screaming for the Wheat Prince. His companions start debating which title fits better, even suggesting the ridiculous Salt Wheat Prince. Hiro is just exhausted by the chaos, trying to deflect the credit to others, but the nicknames have already stuck. Looking at his supportive family, Hiro feels a wave of relief knowing he trusted them with the truth. With a final, encouraging nudge from his brother, a nervous Hiro prepares to face the masses. Hiro takes a deep breath and steps forward to address his people, formally introducing himself as the third prince. But the crowd isn't having the formality. They cut him off with a roar of laughter, reminding him that they've known him since he was a little kid. A bold declaration that changes everything. With a look of absolute determination, Hiro announces his ultimate goal. From this day forward, he will become king. He turns to the crowd, asking if their lives have improved. The people erupt in joy, shouting about the salt, the fish, and the soft bread they now enjoy. But then Hiro asks the one question that makes the air go still. Do they want these days to continue? Looking out over the festive gathering, Hiro drops a bombshell. Despite the feast before them, he declares that they can do even better than this, leaving the crowd stunned and confused. For Hiro, simply surviving isn't enough. He's not satisfied with just not starving. He wants better food, more fun, and a life of convenience. His ambition is far beyond the basic needs of the people. He challenges their perspective, arguing that while some might call it a waste of resources to live for more than survival, that very waste is what makes a country and a soul truly rich. It's not just about saving the country. It's about building a better tomorrow. Hiro pleads for their support, promising to lead them all toward true happiness. With a powerful shout and an outstretched hand, he defines his vision. A prosperous country. The people can only watch in awe as his passion fills the air. He knows he has loyal allies, but he admits he can't reach this goal alone. To make this dream a reality, he needs the power of the people, and the crowd is visibly shaken by his sincerity. The tension snaps into a roar of approval. The crowd explodes in a frenzy of cheers, hailing him as King Hiro in a massive wave of support. A small, confident smile plays on Hiro's lips. He envisions a future where no one lives in fear of hunger or death, but instead believes in the tomorrow he has carved for them. He vows to do his absolute best to live up to their expectations. A young prince makes a bold, cinematic pledge to his people. With fire in his eyes, Hiro Caltarosa vows to lead the kingdom of Caltarosa to glory, promising to make his country rich, happy, and prosperous. This is more than a dream. It's his first official pledge as the future king. Bam! The night sky erupts in a spectacular display of fireworks. Below the explosions of light, the citizens are in a frenzy of joy, drinking and cheering in a celebration that feels like a new dawn for the kingdom. But away from the crowd, Hiro watches the sparks fade with a complicated expression. He admits to himself that fireworks are nothing but a waste, yet that's exactly why he created them. This waste is the ultimate picture of happiness. He hopes that as the people watch, they can feel the depth of his resolve. While he reflects on the birth of a new king, a familiar voice cuts through his thoughts. Habana finds him hiding away and can't help but tease him. Why is he thinking about such complicated stuff in the middle of a festival? Hiro turns the moment into a serious request, telling Habana that he feels he can go anywhere as long as she's with him. He reveals the next ambitious target, amassing iron, a goal that will require them to cross the vast ocean. Habana's reaction is immediate and heartfelt. With a blush on her cheeks, she gives her absolute loyalty, declaring, "I'm your sword." The two share a joyful laugh, their bond sealed as they prepare for the journey ahead. That night, the Harvest Festival becomes a release for 12 years of accumulated pain and struggle. But as the sun rises over the peaks, Hiro realizes that mere survival is only the starting point. To truly save his people, he knows he cannot stay content with where they are. He must push forward. And so the reincarnated prince sets sail. With Habana by his side and the open sea before them, Hiro Caltarosa declares that his journey to improve his country doesn't stop here. The real adventure is just beginning.